Welcome to a brand new day. Welcome to Monday on the AM show. It's a brand new week and we're starting it right here. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. I always do this together with Bernice Lansah, and boy, are we glad to come your way. So here's what we have lined up for you this beautiful morning that God has graced us with. Shortly, we'll give you the news with the latest tidbits in Ghana and beyond. And from there, we'll be hosting Edem Senanu, of course, an anti-graft campaigner. Now with a new AU portfolio, African Union portfolio. I'll be telling you a bit more about that as we host him for our news review. But then from there, we get into our big stories and major matters we've lined up for you. The first, how many SIM cards are linked to your Ghana card? Do you know? Well, it's come to the fore because the National Communications Authority has mentioned that there are a number of SIM cards linked to certain people's Ghana cards. In some cases, SIM cards that they are unaware of. The question is, why is this happening? Well, today, if you've not dialed *402# yet, you ought to and get interactive with us on the AM show as we delve into that all-important matter, because who knows, someone could be committing crime in your name. That's why we all ought to pay attention to that. On the second belt, in fact, it is our citizens microphone, and we'll be taking the microphone to the Wager area because guess what? The Ghana Water Company Limited is going to have one of those routine spillages of the Wager Dam. When that happens, it tends to be problematic. Now, today, on the back of the last year and all the ugly scenes we saw, we're going to be interacting with members of those communities in that catchment area to find out what their reactions are and how they're preparing as the warning signal has been given to evacuate. Then from there, we're still basking in the May Day or Labor Day glory. Today, we're going to be hosting the Ghana National Fire Service. We're going to be getting into what they do, how they serve, and of course, celebrating them. That's the lineup for today on the AM show, so just stick and stay, and let's do this for God and country. Up next, the news. Welcome on the AM News. Let's get to our first story, shall we? Members of the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana, that is CLOGSAG, have warned government to steer clear of their pension funds. The finance minister last month hinted at attempts to include some pension funds in the domestic debt restricting program. Now, addressing members of CLOGSAG to mark the May Day celebration here in Accra, Deputy Executive Secretary Kojo Krakani said workers would never allow their pensions to be included in the debt exchange program.
Arrangements are being threatened, even though the contributory three-tier pension scheme has begun to yield positive results. It is very relevant and significant to maintain the existing pension structure. CLOGSAG is sending a warning signal to all forces, both visible and invisible. Steer clear of current pension arrangements as enshrined in the National Pension Act 2008 Act 766. He who has ears, let him hear this message. CLOGSAG is sending a warning signal to all forces, both visible and invisible, to steer clear of current pension arrangement as enshrined in the National Pensions Act 2008 at 766. He who has ears, let him hear this message. The outcry of public sector workers, especially teachers and civil servants, during the beginning of the 21st century, be reverted onto government pension under either Cap 30, that is 1951, or the Teachers' Pension Fund 1952, led to the setting up of the Presidential Commission on Pensions in 2004, chaired by Dr. T.A. Bediako of blessed memory. The Presidential Commission on Pensions was tasked to ascertain whether the observation by workers that Cap 30 paid better lump sum or gratuity and monthly pension than Senate was accurate. Also to see whether all public sector workers could be placed on cap 30. If not, they should sustainable pension scheme. The commission made profound findings and noted that, one, workers generally believe that pension earnings were the responsibility of the employer only, and government. Another finding, best practices all over the world showed that pension is a shared responsibility, and thus the worker and employer ought to contribute towards an employee's pension in a fully funded scheme. The commission also founded Cap 30 was not sustainable because it was not funded. They went on. Surprisingly, responsibilities of a worker, the commission found this one too. The responsibility of a worker do not diminish while on retirement.
Well, now the Trades Union Congress wants government to convert the National Cathedral into a national hospital, insisting the project cannot pass for a priority and ought to be discontinued. The cathedral, a pet project of President Akufo-Addo, has been embroiled in controversy over cost and irrelevance. Speaking at the May Day celebrations in Bolgatanga, Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, Yao Ban, said the current economic situation of the country did not support the construction of such an edifice.
The reason Ghana has had to seek IMF support almost every 3 years is largely due to the flaws in the way our economy has been managed based on the neoliberal free market ideology. We would like to reiterate our well-known position that the IMF program can never take us out of this crisis. Our history of engagements with the IMF provides ample evidence that IMF-sponsored programs and policies cannot change our economic circumstances. Another IMF program will only impose more economic burden on us. We have to change the situation ourselves as Ghanaians. We believe strongly that government can lead us out of this crisis. And the government can do so by cutting expenditure on non-essentials, including the need to stop spending our hard-earned revenue on a national cathedral. Let me say this again. We believe that government can lead us out of this crisis by cutting all non-essential expenditures, including the need to stop spending our hard-earned revenue on a national cathedral. I'm sure the president will have something to say about this.
Well, the TUC is also warning that workers may be forced to demand salary increments if inflation is not tamed. Dr. Yarban said his outfit would not accept any increment in salary and emoluments of Article 71 office holders.
The first thing we want to do, if we really mean to protect incomes, is to protect jobs. We need to protect the jobs that afford workers the opportunity to earn regular incomes. Too many workers are losing their jobs in Ghana because some employers are abusing their rights to hire and fire. Other employers are also taking advantage of the weaknesses in our labor law and replacing permanent employment contracts with fixed-term employment contracts. In the last 5 years, TUC alone has lost thousands of its members due to this practice, which is being promoted and facilitated by private employment agencies. That is why we have been pushing for the review of the national labor law to protect jobs and to protect incomes. Mr. President, once again, we would like to appeal to you to ensure that the labor law review is completed this year. This is very important. We have been appealing for a very, very long time, but we are very unhappy about the slow pace at which the labor law reform is going. If nothing is done, we are afraid that you will leave office and we will not get the labor law. We appreciate your commitment to the review, and we will be very, very happy that if you leave this as a legacy for the working people of Ghana. Another measure that government can take to effect.
Well, President Akufo-Addo, meanwhile, has reiterated government's stance in not shortchanging workers in terms of protecting their pensions. He was speaking at the May Day event.
In spite of the difficulties, the difficult challenges government employers face, this was made possible through consensus building to ensure businesses attain high levels of employment to hasten economic recovery. This is no mean feat, as it is the first time in the history of the determination of the national daily minimum wage that the parties agreed to the payment of COLA after wage adjustment for the year has already been agreed. This is an indication of our collective resolve to protect workers and their standards of living. You would also recall that this year began with government and organized labor concluding negotiations on the 2023 base pay and pay point relativity for public sector workers in January 2023. Following a series of consultations and consensus building within the Public Services Joint Standing Negotiating Committee, the base pay on the single spine salary structure was increased by 30% over the 2022 figure, effective 1st January 2023. Indeed, the 30% increment of the 2023 base pay is the highest since the introduction of the single spine salary structure in 2010.
Now, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abu-Jinapor, has indicated that government is still very committed to the fight against illegal mining, despite recent allegations of high-level political interference. He insisted that he still had the backing of the president in his quest to deal with the Galamsey menace. He was speaking to the press on the sidelines of a National Youth Conference on Natural Resource and Environmental Governance. There's more in this report by Esther Nkrumah.
The National Youth Conference on Natural Resources and Environmental Governance is aimed at including the youth in the planning, implementation, and evaluation of environmental issues. Executive Coordinator for the Youth Network for Development, Chibeze Ezekiel, emphasized the need for promoting public education to raise awareness on the importance of preserving our natural environment.
I think it has to do with the level of awareness or education, because if people are told to plant trees and they don't see the value or the importance, then they will not be motivated or encouraged to plant trees. But if you're able to engage them, let them understand why they must plant trees, I think that will go a long way to get the youth involved to plant trees.
Addressing the media, The Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Samuel Abujinapo, who was the keynote speaker for the event, assured that the government's continuous commitment to the fight against illegal mining is unwavering.
The president will not countenance any interference. If there's one person who's been committed to this fight against illegal small-scale mining, it is President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I've worked with him closely, and I mean closely and closely. And I do know that his commitment to this fight is totally unflinching. And indeed, it will be scandalous, and it will be far-fetched, and it will be impossible for President Akufo-Addo to interfere in the fight against illegal small-scale mining. Indeed, on the contrary, he is the man who's giving me all the courage, who's giving me all the strength, who's giving me all the backing and authority and mandate to go frontal.
Meanwhile, NP for Medina, Francis Xavier Susu, indicated that the government is being hypocritical in its fight against environmental degradation.
Promises made by government and commitment made by government must be backed with action. Sometimes it is quite disappointing to know that government can make very beautiful commitment to, afforestation, make very beautiful commitment to protection of the environment, and yet at the blind side of all Ghanaians, they become the leaders of the environmental degradation. For me, that is duplicity, and that is hypocrisy, and that is bad faith. That is not taking the people of Ghana seriously.
The conference served as a platform for young green entrepreneurs to showcase their innovative climate and waste management solutions to attract partnerships and investments.
What are these products made from?
They are made up of used materials. I don't call them waste. Used materials like cardboard, old newspapers, plastic bottles, disposable spoons, champagne bottles, seashells. Yeah.
Can you walk us through your products?
I'm Jessica from EcoNexus Ventures, and then we are a waste to energy company. We convert agro waste to ethanol fuel for cooking. So we have here the ethanol fuel. We call it Eco Gel, yes, because it's quite jelly-like. So this is made from pineapple waste, cashew apples, and then sugarcane molasses. So this fuel comes with its specific stove. So without the stove, you can't use the gel, and without the gel, you can't use the stove.
The theme for this year's National Youth Conference was centered on promoting effective youth participation in governance of the natural resources and environmental sector. Esther Nkromet's report read to you.
And that's our recap of the news this morning. But stay with us. The news review up next as we're joined by anti-graft crusader Edem Sinan. Well, we are joined by Edem Sinanu, of course. He is an anti-graft campaigner and recently becoming a member of the AU Advisory Council. He joins us for the news review. Edem, first off, congratulations to you. I saw photos of you seated there, I think sometime last week, and I was like, hey, my boss be that too. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Thank you.
Edem, I don't know what it is, whether it's from my end or yours, but I can't hear you too well.
Can you hear me now?
Better, much better, much better.
Okay. Thank you.
And we're grateful for the strides you're making. Anti-graft campaigner in Ghana, and now, of course, on a member of the AU Advisory Board on Corruption. We pray that God keeps you rising in this step. But even before we get into the newspapers today, a number of interesting matters have cropped up over the weekend and in the past week, from Galamsey to the economy to May Day and the calls by Labour for pension funds, among others, to be set aside, and that if there are not going to be any increments in salaries, then there should be no increments either when it comes to Article 71 office holders. We also have that on the technological front, something we're discoursing on today. the fact that a number of SIM cards are linked to people's Ghana cards, and some of them are totally unaware. This could create a very grave situation in terms of crime and getting the culprits. Any reflections on any of these that you'd like to give us before we get into the papers?
Well, I mean, when we talk about the pension funds, obviously workers are concerned about what happens to them when they retire. It is the business of government to make sure that the institutional arrangements are good enough to ensure that people are protected in their old age. And I think that many of these issues, one, if it's not protecting the person, so the values we hold dear as a society are important. On the other hand, it will be about bringing stakeholders to the table so that together we construct systems that provide value for the citizens of this country. I think that a lot more engagement, a lot more bringing to the table of various groupings and making sure that the realities on the ground are discussed will make sure that we make progress. And then the various divisions and pushbacks that we experience will be reduced.
Right. Well, let's get into the stack of papers now, and we'll start, of course, with the Daily Graphic. A lot of talk there about the May Day celebration. In fact, prominent on pages 40 and 57. It says, we'll protect incomes, pensions of workers, President assures organized labor. That's one of the major stories there. And then 727 on trial for Galamsey, according to the Attorney General and Minister of Justice. We'll bring you details of that story, especially on the back of the despoliation, if you like, of our natural resources, land and water resources. Just last week, I shared a video, though, Adam. I don't know what the impunity is. I have seen a video in the past about nighttime Galamsey activity going on, and they were saying, well, if you try to apprehend us during the day, how about the night? We're here and we are working. This was sometime last year. I'm sure you may have seen that as well. There's a recent one where some young thugs, that's what I'll call them, have uprooted an odum tree, and they are saying, well, we're here. You're saying you're fighting Galamsey and the rest, but we are here. It's broad daylight. We're doing Galamsey. We're destroying the environment. In fact, they were almost saying this with pride, Adam, that they were destroying our land, destroying our water, they were uprooting trees, and that they didn't care two hoots. For me, that is the highest level of ignorance and stupidity as well. But what has led them here? It may be the fact that they have not been able to secure the jobs they need, and so they would want to fall on such avenues and destroy, pillage. They don't care once they make some gains. So I don't know, but for me, it was really mind-boggling. Maybe when we get to that story, you can share your reactions. And the banner headline here, turn cathedral into hospital. TUC tells government. I found this one interesting because Mr. President was seated right there. And when the camera panned to him, it was interesting, the expression on his face. So let's get into the stories now. We'll start from protecting incomes and pensions of workers, and we'll take it from there. All right, so let's quickly get into that. The story on page 40 actually isn't there. So let me turn to page 57 rather. So I think the Daily Graphic has mixed it up a bit this morning in terms of the story. So I'll start rather from the cathedral bit, also with the TUC. So the Trades Union Congress has asked the government to convert the National Cathedral project into a hospital, suggesting a number of actions that the government must take to help improve the current economic challenges the country was facing. The TUC said the cathedral project was not an essential expenditure and it would better serve a purpose if converted into a hospital. Addressing this year's National May Day Parade in Bolgatanga, the Upper East Regional Capital, yesterday, the Secretary General of the TUC, Dr. Anthony Yalba, said, "We believe that government can lead us out of this crisis by cutting expenditure on non-essentials, including the need to stop spending our hard-earned revenue on a national cathedral. In fact, it will be better to convert that project into a national hospital." Quote, the president has always said he wants to create another Notre Dame in Ghana so we can attract a lot of visitors. But we disagree. In fact, comrades, it will be better to convert the project into a national hospital, he said. Of course, the May Day celebration was on the theme, protecting incomes and pensions in an era of economic crisis, our responsibility. And there was talk again about the pensions and how they didn't want this supposed alleged second round of a domestic debt restructuring to take place. Of course, the finance minister has come out to say that that was just misconstrued from his engagements with the IMF. Any thoughts on that? Reflecting also on that story where the president says, we'll protect incomes and pensions of workers.
I mean, starting with the cathedral project, a number of us had indicated right from the beginning that this was a project better managed by civil society and other groupings. And so it should not have been considered as something that the state is funding. Essentially because you had one religious grouping that was at the, as it were, at the heart of the matter. And so I think that the president and the government should have divested its interest, facilitated a process that allowed this particular grouping to get the land and to develop it. And ideally, it should have been phased. I mean, phases that were small, concrete, manageable, because you know you can raise the resources, and therefore the design should have taken into context, into consideration, the level of resources available. I think that a number of key things went wrong right from the beginning, right from the design phase. And I think that it's a good point for serious reflection if the whole thing is not supposed to come apart and not get executed at all. It's unfortunate because sometimes it looks like people are taking a poke at the government and the president, because for some of us who are Christians, it's of value. However, the way it has been managed has created challenges. And I think that there ought to be serious reflection about what to do going forward if we really want to do anything.
Speaking of any reflection, initially we were told 100 million. This is ballooned from the last time I recall to over $400 million that eventually we're going to be expending on this project. I am just thinking, as an ordinary Ghanaian, I don't know whether the Lord would put side by side National Cathedral, a house of worship, or a place like Notre Dame in France. And we saw when it went up in flames, even the world's richest man now, Bernard Arnault, all of such people contributing for it to be refurbished. But in this instance, we're told that those took centuries to build. In some instances, it wasn't a 5-year, 10-year thing. It took a long while. In this instance, we want to do it bam. And the president supposedly was inspired by God to do this. In the end, though, looking at our hospital infrastructure, for example, looking, for example, at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital and how much we spent, looking at the fact that we're saying we want Agenda 111 with all these hospitals and the rest, would it not make more sense to expend such funds or channel them towards such projects? I don't know. If assuming for some reason the cathedral couldn't be put up, what else? Would you agree that maybe we should use it for a hospital? Because I've heard people say it should be turned into a university. Now some are saying a hospital. What is your take, Adam?
Data-driven. And so you want to do an analysis of the needs of the people. You want to engage them. It reminds me of the transition between the MDGs and the SDGs. Proud that we've done a number of national surveys. And at the time, we suddenly discovered that between one survey and the next,
right,
the focus had shifted from jobs to secondary education. And it was very striking. We had done a national survey, I think 2-3 years, and all the emphasis had been that we need more jobs and so on and so forth. And this was 2014, 2015, I think just before the elections of 2016. We went around and the majority of Ghanaians had moved from the issue of want jobs to we need our children to get into schools. And it wasn't surprising that then the campaign and its language shifted. It is important that any decisions we take be data-driven, because Ghanaians do make up their mind as they look at what is going around, what is happening in their various spaces. And in my mind, I have no doubt that the state resources ought to be channeled into development. If you want to do cathedrals, let's make sure that the faith group that has a strong belief in this are marshaled to support that. And I think that it will keep the peace of this nation.
Well, let's see how that goes. Government and UN signed $517 million development agreement. That story is on page 16. And it says the government and the United Nations have signed the 2023 to 2025 Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework Agreement to help strengthen and support the country's developmental agenda. A total resource envelope of $517 million is expected to be utilized to finance the UN SDCF, out of which the $270 million is available, with the remaining $247 million expected to be mobilized through various approaches. Then again, the story, the Galamsey story I made mention of earlier, a total of 727 individuals are currently standing trial across the country over their alleged involvement in illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. The Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Godfrey Adame, has disclosed. According to the AG, the 727 individuals were involved in 117 cases pending before various high courts and circuit courts. In a statement, Mr. Dame said the Eastern region accounted for 50 of the 117 cases, 33 in the Western region, 23 in the Ashanti region, 7 in the Greater Accra region, with the Upper East and Northern regions recording 3 and 1, respectively. Finally, to quote him, he says, on the average, a typical Galamsey case involves the arrest and prosecution of at least 6 or 7 individuals. Most of these cases are prosecuted in the region in which the assets were effected. My questions to the AG, before you also share your thoughts on that. One, there has been raised this concern, I think last year it became prominent, that if you look at the number of people apprehended when it comes to Galamsey, there are so many foreigners, yet you would find a paucity of foreigners who have actually been apprehended or incarcerated. What is happening? We've seen the numbers. There have been charts in the past showing the numbers of foreigners engaged in Galamsey. Prominent among them, and I'm not yielding to any stereotypes, the Chinese. But there are people from Burkina Faso, Mali, and the sub-region here. What is happening? How about those numbers? And secondly, Mr. Attorney General, what about the members of the MPP, members of the ruling administration, who from time to time, in fact, recently, let's not even say time to time, Professor Frimpong Boateng's report, how come there seems to be no interest in that? My thoughts, but over to you, Mr. Sinan.
I think that usually it is about the investigation which will lead to identifying persons who are involved in such illegal activities. And then they are detained, they are questioned, and the process will continue. And so depending on where the investigation is being done, you're going to pick up a certain group of people. I suspect, because it's not the AG's department that will do the investigation, at the police level or the CID level. So the AG by itself as a department or unit will not have control over the names and numbers of people who are brought to their attention. So much more properly put, maybe we ought to be asking the police and the CID, where are you going? How come the many foreigners that are reportedly on our land, channeling and promoting these illegal activities? We don't see it reflected in those who are being brought before the AGs. And you asked a very important point about what is happening with regard to Professor Frimpong Boateng's comments. If I remember right, there was a comment by the president also saying that, am I right?
There was a comment by the president saying?
The president at one point also recommended that the police should investigate what Professor Boateng has said.
Yes.
Did I get that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I think we should be asking the police service about how much effort they are putting into following up on this matter and what information they have regarding all the reported Chinese and other nationals doing illegal mining in Ghana. I think that knowing how important this is to Ghanaians as a whole, the police service also be giving us some kind of updates on what is going on in that space and what we could be doing differently.
Interesting thoughts you share. I do recall that, in fact, after that report became public, a report that had been gathering dust for about 2 years anyway, there was talk from the Jubilee House in a statement about investigations, which is why I say that, yes, corroborating that Mr. President did approve of that. And we're all curious as to how that will end because from where I sit, some of the names I saw in there, I found them to be very troubling in terms of their prominence and their association with this. But we do know that the president's cousin has taken on Professor Frimpong Boateng. You're aware he's suing him for 10 million Ghana cedis for defamation. I am hoping to see how that pans out in court. Anyway, on the back page of the Daily Graphic, chief remanded over forged land document, and a Court of Appeal judge donates library to Adanfo community. I see this too often. So they've written here appeals court. It's the Court of Appeal or the appellate court. This bit about saying appeals court actually isn't technically so-called correct. But let's get into the Daily Guide newspaper. Japanese PM arrives in Ghana to deepen ties. It's the second time in, some 2 decades or so. 119 Galamsey cases in courts nationwide. Joe Gatti pointed to there. There's also MPP Canada roots for Joe Gatti. And then Alan shakes MPP with a Drew Woso walk in Accra. Then there's government working to ease economic challenges of workers. Let's get into the major stories. So thousands of sympathizers of the ruling New Patriotic Party over the weekend took over the streets of Accra to walk with flag-bearer hopeful of the party, Alan John Kwejo Tremating. The health walk, dubbed a Drew Woso Health Walk, which has already been held in the Ashanti regional capital of Kumasi, drew several party members from all parts of the country. The massive turnout at the walk for Alan Tremating raised hopes among some party supporters that the former trade and industry minister was capable of winning the upcoming presidential primaries of the NPP. Let's also look at this story. If you've done Alan, how about we do some Joe Gatti as well? And the New Patriotic Party Canada branch has expressed confidence in presidential candidate hopeful Joe Gatti's ability to lead Ghana to prosperity as president. As such, the Canada branch of the MPP has declared its unwavering support for the candidacy of Mr. Gatti. Recently, MPP Canada branch held a town hall meeting with Mr. Gatti, former Attorney General and Minister of Justice, and aspiring NPP presidential aspirant. When I'm sure you've seen some of these aspirants and the commentary, things that Dr. Akoto Efriye, for example, has said about agriculture, and people have said, but you were a sector minister. And the response has been, look, I didn't have all the power. I wasn't clothed with the power to do all the things I wanted to do. When you listen to the rhetoric of all of these aspirants, so to speak, what leaps at you? Are you encouraged that we could see anything better? Because these people have been in administration in and out. Are you expectant, Adam?
Well, straight off, let me say that I am unhappy with a political campaign that starts in virtually the first quarter of the year before the election, which means that you're going to have about 2 years of running around. And that contributes to the levels of expenses on campaigns, and then people feel that they must get this money back when they get into government. My take is that we should have the kind of constitutional changes that insist that the political season is just 6 months of the year in respect of where we are going to do the election. So if it's 2024, then it's from July or June, because perhaps you need to stop in November to have your elections. I think that having 2
Wait,
years...
so are you suggesting it should start in the electoral year? So let's say around June, you cap off in November, right before the election. That's what you're saying? Okay.
But can you imagine the amount of costs they're going to rake up between now and then? So it's not exciting for me to see them starting with marches, walks, etc. I begin to worry already about the implications to the next government, whichever party wins. So I'm not excited. To be honest, if you've been in government and we cannot talk about a track record of achievements and successes that stand out, I don't think you deserve to be on a platform telling us that you were not given the opportunity. I don't know. Somehow, I'd rather we have fresh voices, fresh faces, people whose past we can go through, do some due diligence, show that wherever they have worked, they have, allowed the unity of the team to continue. They have chalked achievements that are substantive. They have the capacity to lead with honesty and integrity. They understand hard work. I like candidates where we can clearly say that these are movers and shakers with a track record of honesty and integrity, and they can bring a difference. So at the moment, probably I'm neutral. I don't think I'm excited.
Are you saying you don't see any of those in, those who have been going around for the MPP, for the NDC? At least we're talking about the MPP now, but for that party, are you saying you don't see any people who display such traits, honesty, integrity, the sort of...
I'm not
that
saying
sort of...
I'm not saying I don't see. I'm saying that there's a combination of things. One, I think people are starting to campaign too early and they're ignoring the issue of costs, which they will have to pay back because then you have a hole you want to fill. I don't know whether they're keeping that in mind as they start at this point. That's a major concern for me. It's a drawdown on even accepting the candidacies that are being positioned. I think the second issue is, whilst you're in government, what have you done? And then the third issue for me is honesty, integrity, what have you. I'll need to make time to look at each of these candidates and find out whether they meet my criteria. But at the moment, honestly speaking, people campaigning don't bring me any excitement.
There's also the story, Japanese Prime Minister arrives in Ghana to deepen ties, and Fumio Kishida has arrived in Ghana on a state visit with the goal of strengthening the already close economic ties between the two nations and promoting trade and investment with Ghana as one of the major economic hubs in West Africa. After surviving the COVID-19 pandemic, this is the first visit by a Japanese Prime Minister to Ghana in 17 years. And Mr. Kishida is happy to be in Ghana as part of his tour of Africa. That's the story there. On the back page, referee has agenda against Liverpool, and Klopp has reignited his feud with referee Tierney. Of course, they managed to come from about 3 goals behind, I think, to beat Tottenham in their last outing. And there's also players back for ignoring fans. The Leeds United players say they can't express how sorry they are. That's in sports. Any reactions, or can we move to the Find a newspaper, Adam? Hello, Adam.
On to the next.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. I can break the 8 and unite citizenry for growth. That is according to Alan Kojo Chermatin. Then there's the EPA boss calls on National Chief Imam to lead crusade for environmental safety. There's also many subscribers angry as they discover unknown phone numbers linked to their Ghana cards. I was making mention of that. I'll reiterate as I go back to that story. Professor Frimpong Boateng's accusation against Opon Kroma is without merit. That's according to Primpag. And government will protect incomes, pensions. Of course, we've taken a look at that story already. So I'll focus on the one on pages 4 and 9. Let's start with page 4. And maybe you might have some reaction to the Sudan evacuation as well, as 74 Ghanaians are expected in Accra today. We know of that story, and looking at where you operate from now, you just might be interested in sharing some thoughts there. But many subscribers angry as they discover unknown phone numbers linked to their Ghana cards. And the fraudulent registration of subscriber identity module, that is SIM cards, is turning out to be widespread. As subscribers dial the short code *420*1# to check the total number of phone numbers linked to their Ghana card, many have discovered that the National Communication Authority's SIM registration has exposed them to identity fraudsters. Some subscribers have discovered that as high as 18 phone numbers not known to them have been linked to their Ghana cards. Angry about the situation, Many have taken to social media sharing what they have discovered using the short code. Identity theft is often a precursor to fraud. Now, here's the dangerous aspect of this whole situation. It is that in the event that the numbers linked to Ghana cards without the knowledge of the actual owners are used for fraud, investigations will lead to the arrest and prosecution of the innocent people. When identity thieves strike, most people worry about the headache involved in clearing their names and securing their finances. That's the first story. Let's go now to page 9. And there is that story there. President of the Private Newspaper Publishers Association of Ghana, PRIMPAG, Andrew Edwin Arthur, has come out in defense of the Minister for Information, Kojo Nkrumah, in the wake of allegations leveled against him by former Minister for Science, Environment, Technology and Innovation, Professor Kwabena Frimpong Boateng. The allegations surfaced in a 37-page report on illegal mining to the Chief of Staff, where Professor Frimpong Boateng, who was also the chairman of the now dissolved Interministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, claimed Nkrumah had orchestrated a clandestine meeting to plot and bring him down. In an interview on Adoma FM, Mr. Arthur clarified that the event in question was a training program organized by PRIMPAG in collaboration with the Bank of Ghana on financial reporting and had no connection to any malicious intent towards Frimpong Boateng. On top of that, he says, I personally wrote the letter inviting the Honorable Kojo Nkrumah. So I think this is a bit of a death story rehashed because there was that allegation supposedly that Professor Frimpong Boateng felt that was some sort of meeting to hound him, to sort of denigrate him in a way. But the call earlier had been that there was no such intent. I do not know. Of course, there is this bit about the allegations against Nkrumah being without merit. But I'll leave that to the court system and the investigations, as we've been told, to handle those situations. Any reactions, Edem? Have you checked with that short code? I don't know whether you are in the country yet, but have you checked to ensure that no one is using your SIM cards or your Ghana card for Kululu?
I'll do that immediately after this. I got back yesterday. The two have striking similarities. I mean, in the first hand, you have the issue of the SIM cards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we were promised, and you remember that the process for the re-registration was a grueling one. It was so difficult. Everybody had to try and get all these things redone. And all of a sudden, it looked like there was a time constraint. And we're told that effectively, this is the last time you have to do this. Everything will be resolved. And here we are. I think that if Ghanaians knew that the processes for investigation would be thorough and that persons behind this will be identified and be punished for whatever things they've done against the law, the level of hue and cry would be much less.
Mm.
Similarly, if you take Professor Frimpong Boateng's comments, the report he put out was 2 years ago, etc. If the investigations had been done right from that point and persons found to have done something wrong had been identified, we would not be where we are today. So there's a sense in which our systems need to work for us. I mean, if I pick my phone and I did this and I found 3 names attached to it, but I knew that the system in place to identify who has done this, to arrest them, was very sound, I'll just follow the channel. I'll call whichever department is responsible, tell them, look, this is what I've discovered. I'll be waiting for feedback that the additional links have been removed and that my identity will be protected. I'll be very confident. And that's what we want as Ghanaians. I mean, we're not suggesting that things may not go wrong, but when they do go wrong, how do our systems work to ensure that they are corrected and we can move forward? I think that is key. In my view, Professor Frimpong Boateng has raised a number of issues. Some of them may not eventually turn out to be as accurate as he would have hoped. But I think that for a man to put out such information, that is courageous. And he obviously knew that he will have a pushback. And so let's do the best to pick which aspects are accurate and what can be used to improve our systems and the fortunes of this country. And that is what is critical.
Let's wrap with the graphic business newspaper. International community committed to Ghana's economic recovery. Global CEO survey, West Africa, details in there as well. Then there is interest rates to return toward pre-pandemic levels. And then tax evasion avoidance imminent. Analysts caution. As new tax regime kicks in, business associations mount pressure on government. All those stories on the front page. On the back page, boxing gymnasiums, youth employment and economic development. That's an article there, an opinion, if you like, by Kwame Lawe. But as we wrap, let's just get into these few stories. I think I'll start from page 22. As for the international community being committed to Ghana's economic recovery, they've mentioned that time without number. So I'll not get into that. But government's 3 new taxes to improve its badly needed cash flow makes tax evasion and avoidance imminent, tax analysts have cautioned. The experts strongly believe that the excise duty amendment, income tax amendment, and the Growth and Sustainability Amendment Acts, which kicked in from May the 1st, would rather impact tax revenue collection negatively. The new tax regime, expected to generate an additional 4 billion Ghana cedis, also threatens the competitiveness of local businesses, particularly those competing with their counterparts from other African countries, leveraging the opportunities under the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. So according to these tax experts, this will only exacerbate tax evasion and avoidance and complicate matters for businesses. And finally, on page 22 of the newspaper, so it says interest rates to return toward pre-pandemic levels, but inflation must be tamed. So real interest rates have rapidly increased recently as monetary policy has tightened the response to higher inflation. Whether this uptake is temporary or partly reflects structural factors is an important question for policymakers. Since the mid-1980s, real interest rates at all maturities and across most advanced economies have been steadily declining. We can get further details when we grab the Graphic Business newspaper, but that is the projection. Interest rates to return toward pre-pandemic levels, but inflation must be tamed. Any reflections on this final batch of stories?
Yes, over the last, I think, 5-7 years, one of my concerns, and I tried to engage the GRE at one point, is the need to expand the tax net. We have 70% of our working population in the informal sector, 20-30 in the formal sector. You have about 10% in the public sector, formal public, and maybe another 10-20 in the formal private sector. What that means is that the bulk of your people who can pay to the domestic revenue mobilization drive are informal. Now, you are only increasing taxes because we have not constructively and intentionally found mechanisms to ensure that the informal sector persons, and often they are even earning much more, making more money than the formal sector are making. I think government must take a better and more critical look at how do we bring into the net those in the informal sector, and then reduce the levels of taxes. Otherwise, as they have pointed out, really, it's a big disincentive to our competitiveness and to making progress as a nation.
Right.
So, Ministry of Finance Policy Unit, Ghana Revenue Authority, many of us who work with livelihoods and understand the workings of tax are concerned that not enough effort is being paid to expanding the tax net because the numbers will far provide the extra revenue we need rather than, these large increases in taxes, and that, undermines the progress of various entities that are in the business sector.
Adam, we're grateful that you joined us this morning, and once more, congratulations on becoming a member of the AU Advisory Board on Corruption. Adam Sedanu, of course, an anti-graft campaigner. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for your time. All right. And that is how we cap off the news review, but it was brought to you by Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic. They're offering you free prostate screening, free female fertility screening as well. Where can you locate them? Here in Accra at Spintex, opposite the Shell signboard. In Kumasi, Kronoma here behind the Angel Educational Complex. There is a Tema Community 22. There is Takrady Anaji Estate. There is Techiman Hanswa and Esiama and Nzema. I'm sure you want to call them. These are the numbers you can reach them on. 0244 867 068 or 0274 234 321. Endpoint Homeopathic Clinic, the end to chronic disease. But only the start sports. Now, there was a lot of action over the weekend, and Liverpool pulling off quite a cliffhanger. We'll see how the table is shaping out, but that is in the English Premiership and also here in Ghana. A lot more in sports coming your way up next. Welcome back on the AM show. And of course, we're getting into that first big story. We're talking about your SIM cards. Now, do you know how many of them have been linked to your Ghana card? Or maybe, put differently, do you know how many different SIM cards have been linked to your single Ghana card? That is the big question. Now, we've had cause to elaborate on this because of what has emanated from the National Communications Authority on the back of that subject matter. So, who has access to your Ghana card? Who has other SIM cards connected to your Ghana card that you do not know of? Today, we're going to be assessing that situation, and we're going to be asking you to share your stories with us, you to share if you have checked what your story is. If you have not checked yet, we're putting that number out, *402*1#, *402*1#, for you to check and be sure. When you key in that, a text message will be sent to you in reply, and then you would get to know what the real situation is when it comes to your Ghana card and how many SIM cards have been attached to it. It is a concern for every one of us, and we have to check them out because guess what? It also borders on safety. And so if your Ghana card has been linked to other cards of which you are not aware, that could lead to quite a situation later on if any crime is committed in your name. And so that's the main matter we're delving into at this point. We'll be joined as the show goes on by a few guests, but for now, the number to call 0302 211 691. 0302 211 691. We'd love to hear from you on what your story is. That is what we're doing this morning. Now, I checked mine this morning, just this morning. I keyed in, and of course, you have to have your Ghana card on the ready when you are going to do this so that you can use the number, unless maybe you have saved a shot of it or you have the number available to you. You would have to key in, including the GHA part, the dashes, or the dashes would also have to come in as well. And when you key in everything, then you will get your message. We have Kojo joining the conversation. Hello. Hello, good morning. Hello, can you hear me, Kojo? Well, I think we've lost Kojo, who was joining the conversation. But you can call 0302 211 691. Hello, Kojo, can you hear me?
Yes, please, I can hear you now.
Great, great. Good to have you on board. Have you already tried checking with that short code?
It was unfortunate. I lost my Ghana card.
Hey.
Yes, please.
You lost your Ghana card?
Yes, please, and I'm scared maybe someone might see somewhere used for something else without my notice.
Wow. Do you have, I mean, you're speaking to us on one phone. Do you have another phone? I would have loved it if you could, right now, check if you had another phone, because if you drop the line, obviously, reconnecting may be difficult. But if you have another phone with you, can you quickly check on that?
I have another phone here.
Okay, so let's conduct this exercise, Kojo, this morning.
Oh.
Just hold the line, keep interacting with me, but I want you to dial. Are you ready?
Yes, please. I'm following the steps.
Star 402
Star 402
star 1
Star.
hash.
1.
Okay. Now you send that, and it will give you some options. Have you seen the options?
It's still running.
Okay.
Yellow, kindly select an option. Check same, and the 2 is cancelled.
Okay, but even before you proceed with 1, it just struck me. Do you have your Ghana card number? Did you have the number before you lost the card?
Nah, I didn't even take a picture or a copy of it, so I'm scared.
Then that is the issue. If you had the number at least, I thought you had the number available to you. It means, like I have done, I copied the number and stored it somewhere, just in case. It means, Kojo, this situation becomes a bit difficult. So you may then have to go to the NIA to work on, because they have your details. Of course, it may come at a cost if they have to reprint it for you. But then you may have to go to your area or district branch of the NIA, or go to the HQ to get your Ghana card back. And then after that, then you would probably be able to check whether whoever found your Ghana card details is using it for anything.
Oh, okay. Please, can you give me a certain number which I can call the NIA people on it?
I don't have a number available now that you can call, but I'm sure even if you went online, you'd be able to get some of those. I think moving on, we'll also get some of those and make them available to you. So
is it costly? Like, does it cost to replace the SIM?
You would be informed when you get there. I do not know the actual cost as of now, but I do know likely it will cost you something.
Oh, okay. But please, will I get it back?
Will you get your Ghana card back?
Yes, please.
Well, that card that is lost, wherever it is, it's gone. But your details, your biometric and other details are stored in the NIA system. So yes, they can reproduce a card for you with the same details you gave initially. But like what I'm sure of is that it would likely come at some cost.
Thank you. Thank you for your assistance this morning.
Thank you, Kojo. Kojo Bonsu, calling in. It's a major matter of concern, and this morning we're looking into it because guess what? Fraud could be perpetrated in your name because your Ghana card bears all your details. And I think at a point, they also ask you for your date of birth, which is available. So it depends on what information is available there. Some people, if you lost, let's say, your wallet and you had your Ghana card in there together with other details so that the person could get access to your date of birth as well, then that could be a big problem in terms of SIM card registration. So if you've not checked yet, do run the check and let us know how many numbers are attached to your Ghana card and are they all numbers you have subscribed for. We have another call on the line. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Adam, you're calling from Ofinso.
Yeah. My problem is since 2nd August 2022. Yeah, since August 2022, I want, and I have a problem with my Ghana card. My Ghana card cannot pick a data, so I link my number to the MTN. Last Friday, I went and get my Ghana card. I want for my SIM. They said my SIM government has taken it. So I can't believe it.
So in this instance, what you're trying to say is that you lost your Ghana card.
No, not lost. My Ghana card cannot pick a data.
It doesn't have any data on it?
Yeah, on it, yes.
Okay, so each time you tried registering your SIM cards with it did not work?
So I link them. So last Friday, I got my Ghana card. I want to collect my SIM back. They say my government has taken my SIM. So it has bothered me. I can't believe it.
Well, I think it is part of the SIM re-registration exercise. Recently, we were told about some 11 million SIMs had been deactivated. So I would suggest that you go to your service provider, right?
Yes.
Go to your service provider, explain the situation to them and see what help they can offer or where they will tell you to go on this matter.
I went there last Friday. They said that government has taken my SIM. So I can't believe it. How can government take my SIM? They say I have to go back to the NIA. I went back to the NIA and I said I have to go back to collect my SIM. I wonder they said
you said the NIA told you what?
Pardon?
When you went to the NIA, what did they tell you?
NIA told me that they are not the one who give me my SIM. So I have to go back to the MTN to collect my SIM. I went there, they say that the tailor says he can't give the SIM back to me. So I wonder.
Well, that is an interesting situation. A sort of ping pong.
But I want a Vodafone. Vodafone gives my SIM back to me. But MTN refused to give it to me. I used my SIM since 13 good years to me. So they want me to load the SIM. It bothered me a lot.
Right. So I would suggest that you go back to your service provider, the other one that didn't give you the SIM, and explain the situation to them, indicating that this other network had given you your number back, and see what happens from there. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. 0302-211-691 is the number to call. Today we've activated the phones early on this matter because it's all about you. We want to know if you have checked. So I checked this morning and I realized that the three numbers, though one is not actively being used, I have not used it in a while, the two others, in fact, all three that I registered are there. They exist. And that SIM card, the other number that I am not using at all for a while now, I still have the SIM card. So at least I can guarantee that no one else has access to it, or it's not someone else who has registered that number on my Ghana card. But how about you? Do you know for certain? *402*1# is the short code. We have, is it Mansuru? Mansuru.
Calling from Katamansu.
Right, shoot, Mansuru.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Please, I've registered my Ghana card since 4th June 2019. Up to now, I haven't received my Ghana card. Anytime I go to the office, they told me that my everything is there, but they can't print my card for me. I don't know why. Since 2019, that was 4th June, we were the first people to register. And up to now, my Ghana card is not with me. So I'm having a problem with my SIM. Anytime I'm calling somebody, if the line will be going as if I'm flashing the person. And this my line that I used to call. I use it for 20 years now. I bought it 2003, that I bought this SIM. And up to now, anytime that I'm using this SIM, because I didn't register, I didn't get access to my Ghana card, I can't register my SIM. So I always have a problem with my SIM. I don't know what is going on.
So these are some of the severe challenges in the system, because if you've never had access to your Ghana card in the first place, how do you even get to register or re-register
the problem now.
your SIM cards? But how long have you say since what, 2019, June?
Since 4th June 2019.
So now it's about printing the card for you, and that has simply not happened.
And that is the problem. Anytime that I go, and I'm not getting the access to the Ghana card. That is the problem that I have.
Have they been able to trace? And I understand you perfectly, because it was a similar situation with my own mom. It was only last year that when push came to shove, we were able to get her card for her. There was a bit about go to this district, go to this area, or go to LWAC and all of that, and a waste of everybody's time. In the end, we had to, call on some people and make some noise, so to speak, before it got to her. So
I don't know. That is what is happening to me, because anytime that I hear that I should go to LWAC or their head office, I will go. And because of they said my everything is in this system, I can't register anymore, and I don't have access to Ghana card.
It's a sad situation, Mansuru, but don't give up, because in this instance, the Communications and Digitization Ministry, the NCA, among others, they are going hard on this drive to ensure that everyone re-registers their SIM. So if you mean to protect your SIM cards, you will have to get that Ghana card. And
my brother, for how long? For 2019 till date, and I've been wasting my time. I can go and queue for at least 3-4 hours, and I will not get access to it.
Have you tried the option of maybe explaining to them that if that is the case, because you see the problem, I'm sure they are telling you that your details are in the system. You can't re-register with those same details. I don't know what the setup is, but if those details can be set aside for you to register again with different details, because you can't register twice, with the same details. Those are the problems. And that is where I feel you should be heading towards with the NIA. If they have your details, can they print for you wherever the other card may have gone, or set that aside, have you register with your details and print? I mean, there must be some solution. So I suppose that's the way forward, Mr. Mansour, with the NIA. As for this, I'm not a technical person. I don't work with the NIA, but this is as far as I know they can do for you. And again, in terms of the SIM card re-registration exercise, though we are talking about who may have added certain numbers to your SIM or your Ghana card, I feel that the NIA, again, it comes down to you. Of course, if you don't have your Ghana card, which some people simply have not got, they've tried time without number, they've not been able to get it, how do you go ahead with the SIM re-registration exercise? In the first place, some people aren't even able to go past that hurdle to get their SIM cards re-registered. And some of these people, I'm sure, just as I am, my first SIM card I got, I think, in the early 2000s, maybe 2001. I've been using it till now. So imagine what would happen if I could not re-register that and people were trying to reach me. That would be disastrous. We have another caller on the line. Is it? Hello? Yes. Jerry, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where are you calling from, Jerry?
I am calling from Achim Sechere, Eastern Region.
Where?
Eastern Region, Achim Sechere.
Right. What are your concerns? Have you tried the short code, or what is your situation?
Yes, I tried the short code, and coincidentally, I have two networks. One said they couldn't process me, but the other processed. And I realized that instead of two linked cards, I'm talking about my MTN number and Vodafone, there was another Vodafone number that has been linked to my card that I do not know of. Then also even going through some comments on the Ministry of Information's Facebook page, somebody said he had 3 numbers, but about almost 15 to 20 numbers has been linked to that. And also, I wish to suggest that they say instead of we going to the service providers for us to be known and to be to make the complaints so that they could delink the unknown numbers, I think it should be the reverse. We should be given opportunity to delink. In fact, I gave my details of the Ghana card and other things for which reason I was able to get that information about the numbers that have been linked to me. So I can also sit remotely and delink. Else, if I am from where I am here in Sechere, I should travel to someplace else. But if there is no that comfortability for me to do that linking, people may not go there. And so it will make nonsense of the whole exercise we have done over the period, because many numbers may have been linked illegally. And what do you think about the essence of why we did this whole exercise? So I recommend that the short code should go ahead to give us opportunity to the link, and that is why I made this call this morning.
Thank you very much for calling in and sharing your thoughts with us. His major call that, holders of Ghana cards be allowed by themselves to delink phone numbers that they are not aware of or that they do not know. And he cites the bit about distance, for example, where he finds himself if he has to come all the way to Accra, supposedly, to deal with the situation. But there are district offices as well. There may be an outfit closer to you where you can do this. And of course, you also may not want the situation. It's a bit complicated when it comes to the technology, but you may not want a situation where someone may be able to link or delink, numbers from a given Ghana card, because then fraudsters may even be able to wipe their footprints when it comes to using someone's details, aligning it to any specific SIM card, and whatever may happen. But one thing is certain with this conversation we're having this morning. It is clear that the problem goes beyond just linking or delinking numbers from a Ghana card. It boils down to access to the Ghana card in the first place. And the NIA, there still is trouble, brewing, fire on the mountain from the calls that we've had this morning. Still, some people cannot even access their Ghana cards, to talk of go through the SIM card re-registration process. That is a problem, because people's phone numbers are being delinked or deactivated because they do not have the Ghana card. And of course, if you do not have the Ghana card, it means you've been, ruled out of the process. Now, for those who have gone through the process, who do have their Ghana cards, some of them are also complaining that, well, there are numbers that are strange, numbers that I do not know, numbers that I did not register that are, aligned to my Ghana card. We have Samuel joining the conversation. Hello, good morning.
Hi, Benjamin. Good morning.
Where are you calling from, Sam?
I'm calling from Spintex.
Spintex. Please speak up a bit for me. What is your situation? Have you checked?
Yes, I checked yesterday, and all my numbers have been linked to my Ghana card, so I'm good. But I know someone who went to the office to check to get another SIM, and she was told about her limit was due. She has reached the limit level. So they went in, and someone has used her details to register extra 8 numbers. That's Vodafone. So they got them deactivated for her. The last caller, what he suggested, I think is one of the best options the communication industry can come up with. So that instead of people going to the offices to go and queue, if they can come up with a short code, that can also help them to deactivate the numbers that are not DS but has been linked to their Ghana card remotely. I think it will really help fast track the system. And I recommend them, what they are doing is very good, so they should keep it up. It's a good system to sanitize our system and get rid of these fraudsters.
Thank you very much for calling in. So according to him, as you may have gathered, he has checked and his numbers are on board, just as mine. All 3 of my numbers are on board, though I'm using only 2 of them. And the other SIM I have with me, just for safety purposes. But he knows someone who has extra numbers, and that is where the devil is, in that detail. Because if you are unaware of it, something could be done in your name without you being the perpetrator. And if the consequences are to come, you will have a tough time proving that you did not engage in X, Y, or Z. That is criminal, because someone may have attached the number to your Ghana card. But the question is, how is that even possible? Which is why we also ought to be very careful how we give access to our Ghana cards. I do know that in some instances, people have been tempted, even when transacting with mobile money, to give out their Ghana cards. Maybe you can mention the number to the person, but when you give it out, if the person takes a snapshot, you wouldn't know. And what other details the person may have about you, you never know. Of course, there is that requirement in there when you are checking to have your date of birth. But if the person has all the right details, and I don't know how they would go about the biometrics, but obviously people are registering their numbers, whether fraudulent or otherwise, on other people's Ghana cards. How they are doing it is not exactly clear, but it poses a threat to all of us. Imagine someone using your Ghana card to register a SIM and then engaging in fraud. If you're caught in between, in that crossfire, it could be very serious for you, looking at the consequences nowadays when it comes to crime on that level. So what is your situation? Do call in and share with me this morning. 0302-211-1039, 691. Isaac is on the line. Where are you, Isaac?
Yeah, I'm calling from Bolgatanga. Good morning.
Right, Ike from Bolga. What is your situation? Have you checked?
I checked on mine, and I think the numbers are intact. I have my numbers.
How many numbers?
Yeah, there are three. I did one for myself, two for myself, and then one for my mother, because my mother couldn't have access to the Ghana card because the time they were registering it, she went and then her fingerprint couldn't work. They did all what they could, but she was not able to do it. So I used my card to register for her. So that is why I have three numbers.
So tell me, does she have a Ghana card now?
No, she did all what, even the other time they asked her to go to the municipal assembly, and she did what all she could, but yet she couldn't get access to the Ghana card. So we went several times. They would tell us, go and come up to date. We have not gotten it. So yeah, and she's not the only person. A good number of them couldn't have access to the Ghana card as I'm talking to you. So other relatives have to chip in order for them to be able to register their SIM card. If not, it would have been very disastrous. So that is why. So, but concerning the register, I also have friends who experience similar problems like that. But one thing is that I'm not saying that the way we go to register our Ghana card, we also, as you said, we also have to be very, very careful because we don't know whom to trust. So if we go, and I remember in Bolgatanga, people are sitting on the street. When you bring your Ghana card in the name of MTN, they are working with MTN or they are MTN agents, then you send your card there and then they register your SIM card for you. And these people, how do we trust them? But if we all be able to go to the MTN offices, make sure we register our SIM cards there, will be better than going to the street. You see a guy sitting there now, he's working with the MTN, and for that matter, he's an agent of MTN, and then you give your card out. Why? You don't even know the person. After some few minutes, he has finished, you should go. Probably he might take your Ghana card number and also use it for a different purpose. So we have to be extra careful when we are registering our SIM cards too as well. So that is the little contribution I can also give for now.
Thank you so much, Ike, for calling from Bolga and sharing your thoughts on this matter. You can also call and do same. We've heard that for some people, up to 18 numbers have been linked to their Ghana cards. I'm talking about SIM cards linked to their Ghana cards, of which they may not have proper knowledge. Now, looking at the details from the final newspaper this morning, in terms of that risk that a person's SIM card data can be tagged with other numbers or his or her identity appropriated and used for illegal purposes. Of course, we know it comes with biometrics. So that is the safeguard. Now, every individual with a phone who has a Ghana card already has his or her biometrics captured by the NIA and stored in the National Identity Register connected to the Automated Biometric Identification System. Now, in terms of reducing fraud, the NIA platform, if deployed, would verify and authenticate the data of all customers without human intervention or involvement in real time, thereby reducing fraud drastically. In this way, it would be almost impossible for identity fraudsters to use the Ghana cards of other people to register multiple SIM cards. And this also confirms a market survey conducted by the Consumer Protection Agency, which discovered that some individuals were, quote, and that is why we have to be careful, selling SIM cards that had been pre-registered. So sometimes you go to the Kwame Nkrumah Circle area, Accra, and other places, and people tell you, oh, this SIM card has been re-registered or pre-registered, and you can just go ahead with it. They are selling them for 10 CDs, 20 CDs, and the rest. Be cautious. You could actually be getting this with someone else's data. We have Beatrice on the line. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Did I get the name right? What's your name?
Vincent.
Oh, Vincent. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry I murdered your name. Where are you calling from, Vincent?
Calling from Accra. Accra Central.
Right.
My wife just checked her phone yesterday evening.
Okay.
And Tigo, HL Tigo, she don't even use Tigo line. But 7 Tigo lines has been linked to my wife's ID card. I tried calling one of the lines this morning when I was calling you. The person picked, and I asked her whether she has registered the line with her national ID card. Formally, she said yes. Then I asked her with which ID card. Later, she said, oh no, the number has been registered and told to her. So I don't understand what is going on. 7 Tigo line. Meanwhile, she's not using Tigo.
That's interesting.
Yes, listen.
That is very interesting. And that's of course a very worrying situation. So what are you going to do about it? What's the next step for you?
I'm just telling her I want her to send it to Tigo office for them to deactivate all those lines. And the number, when you look at the number, they are incessant. Maybe from 30, the last number is 30, 31. The same number, 32, 33, following now up to 7 of the numbers. Meaning she's having 11 numbers on her Ghana card. Meanwhile, 3 belongs to her. But the rest 7 Tigo lines, she's not using Tigo lines.
Well, you would definitely have to pursue that, because obviously it's a very worrying situation, and you don't want anything to be done in your wife's name and aligned to her. But thank you so much for calling.
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
We're grateful to you too that you took the time to call. Interestingly, when you look in the Finder newspaper this morning, you would realize a number of people were spoken to who also had details to share. One of them, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, who says, checked my details and realized this Vodafone Ghana number had been registered with my Ghana card. Quite shocking, eh? I called the number and it was switched off. Interestingly. So who registered this number? How? Especially without the biometrics. And it's a bit convoluted, really. There's also Kwame Nkrumah Jr. who says, and now all the networks are coming in. Airtel Tigo has used my Ghana card to register 2 other people I'm not privy to. That's what is quoted here. But of course, the network didn't do that, so to speak. Some people found a way of doing that. 2 numbers Airtel Tigo used my Ghana card to register for. Try sending Momo and my name pops up. Okay, I registered it at Kaswa Tigo office. So I think some of these registration points ought to be careful as well. Like I've said, don't go for those pre-registered cards. They are registered in someone's name. Peggy Ama in Shradonko says, I just checked. Looks like I have 1 more number against my name. I need to check with the service provider. And then Muhammad Mutala said, I just checked too. I have 1 unknown Vodafone number linked to my Ghana card. There are a few more here, but how about you? What is your story? 0302-211-691. Is it Hassan? Hello? Hello, good morning.
Hello.
I can hear you. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hassan from Tamale.
Hassan from Tamale.
Yes. Please.
Right. Have you been able to check?
Yes, I was able to check. That was yesterday. And
what did you get?
My ID was linked to 1 Airtel number, which the number I don't know. So my problem now is the verification that we were taking.
Right.
How will what is the name? How are they managing to get this in what are they calling it? How are they managing to do the verification without the person in there?
So without your details, how are they able to do it?
To do the verification there.
Because if you're going to re-register your SIM card, they will take your biometric details.
Okay.
So if those people don't have it, how are they able to register a number on your Ghana card, right?
Yes.
That is the curious part. And it is a wonder. Some of these details might have to be accessible to these people who are doing this for them to be able to do that. There's no other explanation. I don't see how they could do it, unless maybe the data is also available for them to steal, which we are told is not possible.
Especially the Airtel Tigo. All of my friends, they are having the same problem. Especially the Airtel Tigo. They have to investigate on that, that network provider.
Right. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. I have an Airtel Tigo number, though, that I ported from MTN a long time ago. I think this must have been around 2011 or 2012. I did check. It was there, though. I mean, there's no additional number for me. So other people's experiences may be different, but I'm just saying, since that network has come to the fore. I see a message here where the person says, you want to know the short code again. Let me just, so Farouk Umar, you say, please, the code again. It is *402*1#. *402*1#. Or if you like, asterisk 402*1#. And then you can get the details when you press 1 after it comes. Is it Morgan?
Yeah, it's Morgan.
Good morning. Where are you calling from, Morgan?
Good morning. I'm calling from Tema.
Tema. What has been your experience? Have you checked?
I've not checked, but actually I'm trying to see a little bit about my knowledge about what is going on.
You're trying to
tell my small knowledge I have about what is going on.
Okay, so the basic bit we know now is that the NCA has actually come out talking about the fact that some people are checking with the code *402*1#.
Yeah, I'm really aware of all that, but what I'm trying to say is, like, when you take your Ghana card to go and re-register, they just pick up your Ghana card number and they save it for themselves, the people registering. Then later on, they register another number and they sell it for people, especially these foreigners.
So that, what you're saying, I get you. You're saying that maybe when you go to some of these points to register, those who are registering you on behalf of the telcos may keep some of this data, retain the data, and sell it to other people who use the same data.
That's exactly how it got to spread.
Well, that is a possibility, but it's not something that we can individually or as a group confirm from here because we do not have that proof. But what we do know is that if people are able to register numbers that do not belong to, say, you on your Ghana card, then it means they must have had access to your data. That is clear. But how the people are getting the data, we do not know.
That is one of the examples I'm giving you now. When you go register it, you just keep your Ghana card number. Usually when you use this roadside people, so you just keep your Ghana card number, then they just use it to register another card, another number which you have no idea of, then they just sell it out to people. And the other ones, I don't have any idea, but what I'm having an idea of is what I'm actually talking about. And moreover, it's this foreigners that is causing this whole thing. That is my best of knowledge, because they don't have access to any Ghana card, so they can't get any number to make calls. So they are automatically buying it from these people to use.
My curiosity is how they can get your biometric data, or you're saying, at least because those people have registered you, they have access to your biometric data, and then they can use it for other things. I don't know about the possibility of that, but thank you for sharing your thoughts with us.
You're welcome.
Whichever way, people are getting the data, and people are registering other SIMs in the name of other people. If you're unfortunate to have someone who is a criminal and who is engaging maybe in SIM box fraud, for example, or something that is illicit, and that person does it with that number, which is tied to your Ghana card, then nawa for you. It means wahala don't come. Well, Nana Ama Educhumwa Morosa says in the final newspaper, my Vodafone number has been registered for 2 other lines. Or you mean your Ghana card has also been registered for 2 other numbers. Oswell Kwashi says, extra Vodafone numbers have been registered in my name, of which I have no idea. The numbers aren't mine. I'm struggling to understand how my Ghana card, which is safely in my custody, was used to register those SIMs incredibly. And that's the question many people are asking. I mean, for those who have up to about 18 numbers registered, how is that even possible? We have, is it Emmanuel?
Yes, madam. Yes, please, sir. Good morning.
Right. Good morning. Where are you calling from?
Kumasi.
Kumasi, right.
Yeah.
What is your take on all of this?
My problem is the code for checking.
Yes.
If I check, they say I should ID code or ID. So what is the ID? They ask me for.
So it's your Ghana card number.
Ghana card number.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling. You'll need your Ghana card number. And I see someone has also put the code on our live platform, but it should be *402 *1#, and then you can just proceed easily from there. We're not taking any more calls for now. I'll just go through some of the other concerns in the final newspaper from people they interacted with as we get ready to cap off the conversation. Moses Babelduo says, I've checked, but one number beat with day inside where it no be my own. I try calling the person, the number is off. That's what he says. Princess Law says, this SIM registration, dear, hey, I don't use Airtel Tigo. How come my Ghana card was used to register that number, the matter chop hot? So she doesn't even use that network yet. She has a number from that network attached to her Ghana card. Saliu says, I just checked mine. Fortunately, I have three. Unfortunately, you say, I have three other numbers, Vodafone, which are not mine, linked to my card. I think the authorities at Vodafone and, of course, Airtel, Tigo, MTN, all the networks actually should be checking this out. But I see a trend with some telcos' names featuring a lot more than others. I feel that should be checked. Da Costa Boache says, after using the short code, these are the numbers registered with my Ghana card. In this case, 18 different numbers have been linked to his Ghana card, though he uses only one MTN and two Vodafone SIM cards. So that is the situation, fellow Ghanaians. Check if you haven't. *402 *1#. If you've not checked, that's the short code. Check, be sure. And if there is anything that is a discrepancy, anything that you feel is odd, well, go to the right authorities and get them checked before crime is committed in your name. This is how we cap off the conversation on this bit, but be sure that as there are further developments on it, we'll bring you the scoop on that. But stay with us because still to come, we're going to be engaging with the Ghana National Fire Service on the back of celebrating workers. But even before that, the wager situation comes to the fore. The Ghana Water Company Limited is saying there's going to be a spillage soon. But how ready are members of that community, the catchment area, Titegu, among others, for the spillage? We'll bring you that on Citizens Microphone on the AM show. Do stay. Well, thank you for staying with us. Now, before we head to the Weja Teteku area, we're back in the studio and we're talking about the Ghana National Fire Service. Of course, in a way, they're going to be telling us about some activities they have lined up in the coming days and weeks, but we'll also be celebrating them, of course, for the wonderful work they do for Mother Ghana. Now, joining us in the studio, we have ACFO 1 Timothy Osafo Efum, Director of Public Relations at the Ghana National Fire Service. Timothy, a very good morning to you.
Welcome.
We also have ADO2 Alex King Nate, Public Relations Department of the Ghana National Fire Service. He joins us for this conversation. Alex, a very good morning to you as well.
Glad to be here.
Okay, so I know your titles have meanings. I would like you to share with ordinary Ghanaians, those who are watching us. Is it Assistant Chief Fire Officer? Is that
Yes,
it?
please.
Okay, so I got that one right. And then ADO, you would have to explain that one.
I thought you guessed that one. It's Assistant Divisional Officer.
Assistant Divisional office.
I have a lot of steps to catch up with my boss.
Before you catch up I will. But that's why you're there. And so hopefully you do get in. Amen. Let's start off with this little scenario, even before we talk about what you do. I was sharing that with you before we came on air. And out of curiosity, so I don't forget, recently somewhere on social media, I think it was Facebook, I was watching not a movie, but a short clip, and there were some firefighters combating a fire, and then one of them sort of was screaming that he was on fire, but you could not see any fire on him. So I think the team leader then asked that lights be turned off, and suddenly they could see a certain blue flame in the area and on the firefighter. What was that? Can you elaborate for us so we'll be conscious of the fact that maybe these also exist?
Thank you very much. I think some fires burn without flames. Others too burn with flames, but the flames are invisible to the naked eye. So normally it is when the fire has gone to a certain point that the naked eye can see. For example, if a metal is rusting, that metal is on fire. But to the naked eye, you cannot see the metal burning. And so these are the explanation that I can give for now. Very simple one.
So you mean when you see a metal that is corroding or rusting, is it oxidation that they call it?
Exactly.
It's on fire, literally.
It's on fire. It's on fire, basically.
Well, we've learned something new. Most definitely. Thank you so much for that very concise explanation that you've given us. But the Ghana National Fire Service has come a long way. And on May Day, of course, we celebrated all workers. How far would you say the Ghana National Fire Service has come? Again, I'll start with you before I go to your colleague.
The Ghana National Fire Service has come very far. You agree with me that not all institutions, when established, gets to this level. We are 60 years this year since our establishment in 1963. And so we are exactly 60 years this year. So we are celebrating this year, and we are going to launch our 60th anniversary on the Firefighters Day. That is on the 4th of May.
Okay.
We have significantly decided to launch our anniversary on that particular day because of the essence of that day to every firefighter in the world. And so, specifically, if you look at the Ghana National Fire Service, I know around 1982, 83, you may be around then. If you were around, but maybe you were a small boy.
I was around.
Yes.
I was just smiling because I was very...
If we can cast our minds back, this nation was devastated by fires, wildfires, or what we call here bushfires, consuming our vegetation, plantation, food crops, etc., etc. And it is through the efforts of the Ghana National Fire Service that Ghana was able to overcome this particular challenge. And so if this country has progressed this far, then we must give some thanks to the Ghana National Fire Service.
What else would you add on that? And maybe to add to what you're going to say, we've seen that in recent years, there have been concerns with major fires. I think one of them we saw recently at the Ketia market, huge establishments getting gutted by fire. High-rise buildings in Accra Central getting gutted by fire. We've had banks falling victim. I think at a point there was even some talk about not putting up buildings beyond a certain number of floors and all of that. So you can also chip in if you have anything to add, and then we can segue into what that has been like.
Okay, so I would want to clarify again that people normally limit our mandate to firefighting only. But then we go beyond firefighting. We do what we call extrication or road traffic coalition. Whenever there's an accident and people are trapped, we are the first respondents. We have the specialized tools and equipment to cut and extricate and rescue people. Whenever there's also a building collapse, it falls within our mandate. And in relation to that, just yesterday, there was a building collapse yesterday at Medina, Adenta, where one person died, we were able to rescue the rest, with some injuries, and then the rest also were rescued without any injuries. So apart from firefighting, our mandate goes beyond that. And over the years, the fire service has come through, performing these important mandates, serving the nation and bringing the nation to where we are currently.
Okay. Then on the bit about the incidents of fires that we have had, I don't know whether it is because there was quite a spike some years back. I think it has fallen a bit. But what is the real status of that? And are people being more compliant? I mean, I've covered stories where you go to markets and they are cooking in the markets. They're using gas cylinders and the rest. Next thing you know, there's a fire. There's the bit about illegal connections, electrical connections. What is the situation?
Well, thank you very much. Fire incidents is an indication of development.
Okay.
But in our situation, a rise in fire incidents may not necessarily indicate development.
Okay.
Now, it is a mark of development because where human activities spikes, be expecting fire incidents to also spike. However, our situation is mostly as a result of carelessness. People don't care as to what their actions will result into. And so most of the incidents we record here are as a result of carelessness. Like you said, in the recent past, fire incidents are coming down per our statistics. For example, for the first quarter of this year, we made a reduction of about 15% over that of last year, indicating that the fire incidents are coming down. However, that is not to say that as a service, we should relax on our ears. What we are doing is that there are still a lot more incidents that should be prevented, incidents that shouldn't happen, and those are our focus, especially those that occur in slum areas. These are the most vulnerable.
One we saw recently, we saw one in the Aveno area,
exactly.
Raised
down
a number.
Exactly. These are the most vulnerable in society. And so our aim is to protect such people. However, no matter the education that we give them, you still have these incidents occurring. So as a service, we have developed a communication system where we are involving their leaders in giving out the education. And it is our hope that once their leaders are involved in giving them this safety education, they will be able to adhere in order to reduce such incidents in such areas.
And of course, that is the hope. But sometimes, try as you may, especially in some markets, and I don't want to mention any specific market. I mean, there are instances where we have gone to the same place has got burnt a number of times within a few years. Sure. And you go there and it's the same issues. So that becomes pretty problematic. But in terms of the work that you do, you say that the incidents of fire are going down, which is a good signal. But we also realize that sometimes you have the problem of prank calls. People call you and they are false alarms. How are you dealing with that?
Well, we are currently in talks with the key stakeholders in terms of communication, the national security outfits, to be able to come up with ways to track and better deal with them. What we always implore people to remember and to bear in mind is that, you see, just like your phone, when you place a call and there's someone calling you, and so the person gets off the line, you can't pick up that call. So people should learn to be each other's keeper. Because mind you, when you are pranking us, then at that point there might be someone who has a legitimate concern or a legitimate emergency that needs to get through to us. But because of the prank calls or because of the prank you are playing on us, you'd end up depriving someone of a much needed emergency, and they would end up putting the blame on fire service. There's no way, we are there to serve people, so there's no way that you'd call the fire service, then we'll deliberately delay or not pick your calls. So it's up to us to be each other's keeper. When you see someone indulging in prank calls or some of these illegalities, please ask them to stop. So that, because if you look on unconcerned, you might end up being affected by yourself.
Two questions I have for both of you. I'll start with you, Alex. So people have complained a lot of the time about your response time. And of course, that also feeds into. So your response time, what are you doing in that regard to better it? A lot of the time we hear members of the fire service say that, no, it depends on, the call came in at this time and maybe this happened and that happened. How are you dealing with the issue of response time, and what logistical constraints do you face as a service? Fire hydrants and the rest, there are so many problems here and there. We know as media people, but from the horse's own mouth, we'd like to hear from you. So 2 concerns: response time, hydrants, logistics, and all.
Okay, so I would want to go back to say that, our priorities as a nation has so far been on security much more than safety. That's where we find ourselves where we are. It's about time. Everybody tries to ask for their security needs much more than their safety needs. Our fellow security agency sisters, we all work together, but then people always cry for police stations. It's important that when you cry for police stations, cry for fire stations also. You know, because everybody goes somewhere. We need fire. So when your elected representatives come to you for elections, tell them that until you give us a fire station, we are not voting for you. Most of them go promising police station, forgetting that fire stations are also go hand in hand with the police. So it's about people putting their priorities in place to also prioritize their safety needs. As a service, we are trying our best to close the gap with our response time. We all know the traffic situation in the country. We all know the way people poorly demarcate their homes and even block roads to do parties and funerals. When our appliances get there and they realize that the place is blocked, people are having parties, people are having funerals in the middle of the road. We can't just run over people just because we are attending to a fire. So again, it's attitudinal change of the people. People need to do the right thing. If you need to have a funeral, rent a proper place and without blocking the road, so that when there's a fire, we're able to get access to the roads. Also, when people are building, they leave little or no space for even a small car like a Toyota Matis to go through. How much more a big appliance like our fire tenders? So it's about, we as a service are trying our best. So, for instance, at Ablikuma, for instance, realize that it's a growing community. So we've set up 2 stations that are waiting for tenders. One at Amomole and one at the Anya market, trying to close the gap because whenever there's
That's a sprawling community. If anything happens, you don't now need to get a tender all the way from a faraway place. By the time you get there,
then it would have happened. So we are trying to close the gap as a people, but I think we'll again call on government. They've done quite enough for the service, but Oliver Trace would ask for more, and would ask that some priorities should be shifted to the safety needs of people, because at the end of the day, the thief will come and then will steal a few things, but the fire wouldn't choose what to steal. It comes and steals whatever it likes, and would even take your life as well.
Over to you, Timothy. He raised an important point I was going to get to. Some places do not even have openings for the fire tender to go through. So that already is a problem. And like we see in some instances where people can, of their own accord, block a road. There's a wedding or something going on, a marriage ceremony, and they blocked off the road. So if someone is having a situation there with a fire, you are now going to have to plead with people to move and all of that. And of course, by which time disaster may have struck. But what are your reactions to the response time and the other issue I raised about logistical constraints?
With the response time, what is happening now is we don't have a lot more, so the 2 are tied together. We need to open a lot more fire stations. However, you don't just open the fire station. 1, you need the premises. 2, you need the equipment. And 3, you need the personnel. For personnel, government has done well giving us a lot more personnel. So if you say we want to expand, that shouldn't be a problem. However, we need spaces to build fire stations. As I'm speaking to you, a place like Adwa Safo's area, Dome Kwamenya, we need to establish a fire station there. We don't have. the
Wow.
whole of
You see,
Achimota.
there's none there?
There is none there.
That's a huge area.
The closest is Legon in Medina. Legon campus.
Wow.
And Medina.
I've actually never paid attention to that.
So, you see, the communities themselves must have an edge to have a fire station because you can't continue to allow your property to be burnt by fires. The fire station must be closer to your community. And so, people talk about response time without looking at where the fire station is. If we have to travel through this traffic, through that area, to Atomic area, imagine the time that it will take us to get to that site. And then people start complaining that we called you and it has taken you that long. It is not our making. If the community gives us a land without even building the station, we will find a means of building the station and placing personnel and appliances there so that immediately there is any emergency, we will be able to respond on time.
Is that what you did in the instance? You mentioned that there were some 2 outposts. Is that what you did?
Yes, exactly.
So that one is the community and the assembly that came together to give us those 2 stations.
Okay.
I stated this particular place because for a very long time we have been asking for land to put up a fire station within that community.
That is in Dome-Kwabenya
area. And we are not getting results. Now, we should also note that response time also depends on you, the person, or whoever observed an incident. Whenever you call us, we will proceed. I have always been saying that the fireman, yes, we are supposed to respond to emergencies, but we are not magicians to determine whether an emergency has occurred somewhere or not. It is those who observe that emergency that must come to notify us so that we can proceed. So if you waste time, the more time you waste, the more your properties are destroyed by these fires. So I am urging our fellow countrymen, the moment you observe a fire incident, please call the fire service so that we can also be there on time to support and help you. It is not our wish that every time your items are destroyed. When we're able to save life and we save your property, we have some happiness in us. Whenever these things are burnt completely, we don't feel good when we are returning back to our stations. So the communities, every person should help the fire service to help all of us.
And I have actually seen, I think the last time I went to, what's the name of the place? The Central Market where they sell clothes and around the Kantamanto area. The last time I went there, it was so bad. I was literally filled myself with smoke and all of that. And that place has got burnt at least 2 or 3 times since
recent times.
Since that period. No, since I was there.
All right.
Since that period, it has got burnt again about 2 or 3 more times. And I remember looking at the expressions on some firemen and women's faces. It was one of despair, one of we wish we could do more, but disaster had already struck. So I get what you mean. And the logistical constraints are also there. I see you want to add something. Yes. After that, I want you, Timothy, to address the situation of how many, if you know, fire engines or fire tenders do we have? How many more averagely would we need across the length and breadth of the country, depending on population concentrations? Sure. And maybe you could also add, what is the, I do not know this, which is why I'm asking you. I know there's a police to civilian ratio, a nurse to civilian ratio. What is the fireman or firewoman to civilian ratio? Yes.
Okay, so since you mentioned the fact about you seeing firemen being despaired, you see, it's high time people appreciated the efforts, the sacrifices of firemen. Mind you, whenever there's a fire, everyone is Ejao, they're running away. We come in
and you face it.
We're facing it. We go in blind on almost all locations because you go and you hardly even find the owner of the apartment to give you accurate information as to the contents of that particular place. So there might be a cylinder burning, there might be a cylinder heating up to explode. We will know. Our men will go in and poof. It can be an explosion.
And of course, even in fighting the fire, there are different kinds. If it's a chemical, you may need a different approach. Exactly. If it's water, if it's electrical, you may need a different approach.
So that's when people misinterpreted that we come without water, because we don't use water to fight
all kinds of
exactly. Yeah. So you see, when our men arrive at a scene, We didn't set the fire, mind you. You know, it's probably your negligence or a mistake that set the fire. Our men come in to salvage. So instead of hooting at our men, why don't you encourage them? When I go to fire scenes and I see people handing out water to our men to help them cool off, it warms my heart, because who doesn't like to be pampered? Who doesn't like to be appreciated? So instead of hooting at firemen, instead of victimizing them as if they came to set the fire at your place, please support the firemen, because we don't take pride in, as my boss said, we don't take pride in coming to see your placement. We come and then we come and then at the peril of our lives. There was one such incident at Adabraka, where I was driving past Adabraka and I saw people running. So when I got there, there was another fireman over there, and there was a gas that was leaking. Believe it or not, myself and the other fireman, we didn't think about our lives. We rather put wet clothes on the cylinder that was leaking, and then we raised it. We were thinking about protecting people and not thinking about our lives. So the two of us carried the cylinder far away from where people are. As we were going, there could have been an explosion. We could have died. But we were not thinking about ourselves at that point. We were thinking about the number of people that could have been affected. So, and that's how we are wired. That's how we are trained. So please appreciate us so that we can be able to put our lives on the line for you. And on behalf of Ghanaians, we thank you for the good work you do. Because indeed, that is the situation. In fact, I watched a scene like that somewhere from Asia where a chief fire officer was explaining that situation. A gas cylinder on fire and how to use a wet blanket and all of that. But it's also dangerous because it could explode at any moment. And if that happens, it's the fire officer who loses his life. That owns the cylinder, you are running away. We are now come to find ways to work around it. So you don't attack the fireman. You know, you just appreciate them for their efforts, because see, when our people go on retirement, instead of them enjoying their retirements like everyone does, they spend all their time and money at the hospital because of the kind of smoke inhalation and all of that. You know, most of them die even before they go on retirement. Most of them die even if you. But that also brings to the fore, because yes, sacrifice, you are sacrificing for the nation, but the sacrifice shouldn't get to the point where the work is imperiling your life. So in terms of safety as well, your gear and all of that, because that should always be brought to bear so that while you are exposed, you are still protected to some extent. You brought it up. I want you to take a look at that before. I see Timothy wants to come in. It's my boss. Let me explain that even the fire apparel that we wear is not full protect. It doesn't give us full protection. Right. There are certain chemicals or emissions that directly goes through into the skin. And so one of the sicknesses that firemen go home with is skin cancer. Because it is not everything that the apparel can screen. Some penetrate and enter into your skin directly. So firemen go home, the minimum is the skin cancer that you will get. That's the minimum? That's the minimum you will get. Like he said, a lot of our colleagues die even before their retirement age. I can give you several examples where our men go to hospital as a result of sickness, and doctor will tell you, if you don't stop smoking, you will die. And the person will be arguing, doctor, I don't smoke. He said, you are a liar. All your lungs are full of smoke. It is because of the job we do. You see, so if people sacrifice like this, and Ghanaians don't appreciate, then it becomes something. It means we shouldn't even kill ourselves for Ghanaians. After going through all of this, you go home not peacefully. You go home and every day you are in the hospital taking care of your health. So Ghanaians should appreciate, at least now that we are celebrating Firefighters Day, just get to your community and say thank you to the firemen who are helping your community to stay alive. This is what we are expecting from you. Just thank you. Don't give them anything. Just go and say thank you for helping our community. And the firemen will be very, very much appreciative of your coming to say thank you for what you have done for them. Is there anything extra? After all, we all pay taxes so that outfits like yours can get what you need. Is there anything extra that can be done
in terms of your outfits or anything to ensure that you are better protected?
Yes, there are several things that we need to get. There are pieces of equipment, like I said, a mission of X-rays and related items. So we have a specific equipment called dose meter. This dose meter will tell you the concentration of X-ray or gamma ray or these rays and tell you whether it is safe for you to enter or not. As I speak to you, we don't even have one dose meter in Ghana.
The whole of Ghana?
The whole of Ghana. Ghana Fire Service. We don't have one.
We don't have even one?
We don't have even
Well, I'm
one.
not surprised because even for breathalyzers, which the police will use to measure the level of someone's alcohol in their body, how many are in the system?
So we just enter and save the situation.
You're basically flying blind.
Exactly.
You don't know what is in there
Exactly.
and you can't gauge.
Exactly.
So a lot of the time, what could have been prevented in terms of injury, you go and face it.
And the consequence is the long-term effect on your life.
Averagely, do you have any idea? You may not, and I'm not putting you on the spot. Do you have any idea how much this dosimeter or whatever would cost?
In fact, I don't have any idea how much it will cost, but I don't think it's too expensive.
You don't think it's too expensive?
I don't think it's too expensive.
You are one of the top officials at the fire service. You are not the one in charge, but
I understand.
What conversations have been had on that?
This is a large platform, so I can't come and guess once I've not done my research. That is why I say I can't mention any figure here.
No. I wasn't even talking about that. I was saying that, why do you think, after all this while, this from what you've just explained to me, it is crucial. How come?
Very, very important.
How come you're able to say this, but I'm sure there have been conversations that have been had on it.
Yes.
And after 60 years, you still don't have this?
We don't have even a single one. We don't have a single one. You see, the conversation even goes beyond that. We don't have protection for all of our firefighters as I speak to you. What we have is a set for only those who are on duty at a particular point in time. So, for instance, when Katamanto was on fire and we needed more personnel to go, the additional personnel we sent in did not have the fire jacket to go and help. So what you put on is the overall that you have been supplied. So even if the fire jacket cannot prevent such items from entering into your skin, what about the overall? Overall is just like the dress me and you we wear every day.
As someone would say, that's quite a situation. You know, today you're opening my eyes to a lot more. I know of some of these constraints, but now I'm getting to another level of the constraints you face.
Let me chip this in. You see, people always make mockery of some of our appliances. It's their right to. But mind you, you see, most of the appliances you see are well over 15 years, between 10 to 15 years old.
Wow.
10 to 15 years old. And you can even go buy a car from, clear a car from the port. You'll be on the motorway and the car will break down. So when we tell people that our appliances have broken down and would have to call for an appliance from another place, people tend to mock at us. People tend to misunderstand when our pumps fail. Every morning, our men do routine tests. But just like your car, you can spark your car in the morning, know that it's ready to go. You decide to go to work and it's not working. So when our men get there and then the pump has failed, then they'll be like, we didn't come with water. There's no way we'd move. No one in fire service is an illiterate or an imbecile. Everyone is educated. So you, the ordinary person on the road or on the streets, you think you know that we should come with water. So how much more we that have been trained, schooled, and educated in that field.
Right.
So it's not a fair assessment to make when people say, because as you said, there might be a fire that involves electricity. We just can't come and then quickly just open water on
In fact, you compound the situation.
Exactly my point. So when we get there, let me cast your mind back to the fire incident near the Vienna City, opposite Vienna City.
Yes, I recall.
It was raining on that day. So if water can quench every fire, why didn't the water quench that fire to avert such a disaster on that day?
Yeah. Good questions. I want us, as we get ready to cap, we have about 4 minutes to play with. I would like us to talk about, there was the question that you didn't get to answer because we moved away, about, so fire hydrants, then fire engines or tenders, availability of them. how many you have, how many more you need, and the fire officer to civilian ratio. If you could quickly address that for us.
So the fire officer to civilian ratio is 1:850. 1:850. As I speak to you now, we should have been 30,000 personnel in the minimum.
So 30,000, you need about 30,000 personnel for a population of about 31 million.
31 million.
Okay.
So as at now, we are a little around less than 15,000. So we need about 15,000 more to be able to meet the UN standard of one fireman to the population.
15,000 more needed.
Exactly. Now, with respect to fire tenders, as I speak to you now, we need a whole complete set of fire tenders for every fire station in Ghana.
Wait, a whole new set?
A new set.
Of fire engines or fire tenders?
Yes, for every station in Ghana.
How many stations do we have?
We presently have 210 fire stations.
And we need a whole new set.
209. And we need a whole set for every fire station because, like he indicated earlier on, all the appliances are aging now. And that is how come a lot of people mock us because the appliance will go, they go to the incident scene and they cannot operate. We have to bring in another fire tender to come and support. And you see, it is not the fault of the fireman. The engines are old. On the average, every 5 years, you must replace your fleet of fire tenders. But here we are because of our peculiar situation. So we have given ourselves 10 years. And the fire engines we have in the system are now 15 years. So what do you expect? We are spending much more money into maintenance than any other thing. Because when the fire tenders break down, you can't sit down and say they are old. You need to put them back on the road. And they go 2-3 days, they are off again. So always we spend our resources in maintaining these fire tenders so that we can serve Ghanaians.
That is a stark situation. You are under the Ministry of Interior, right?
Yes.
Interior Ministry.
Yes.
What is the chain? What is the channel in terms of addressing some of these challenges?
So we have a Fire Service Council, and they are supposed to manage our affairs. So if it is beyond them, then it goes to the minister. If it is beyond the minister, then it goes to the...
It is obviously beyond you now. So has it got to the minister?
It has gotten to the minister. The good news is that we are in the process of acquiring new fire tenders.
How many are we looking at?
We are looking at about 240. Not only fire tenders, but other ancillary equipment and appliances that we need for our job. So in total, we are looking at around 250 appliances that should come in.
Any reactions on that before I go to my next question?
Okay, so we see as a service, we understand that when people's things are getting bent, the grief that they go through, we understand them. That's why we are trained to be tolerant. So we go and then we tolerate it to
I know sometimes people even attack you.
Exactly. You see, we tolerate it to a certain level, but then people shouldn't misunderstand that to mean that we are weak. Because when we come and we feel like the threat or the attack is life-threatening, we'll go. And you fight the fire yourself. So please, when our men come to fight the fire, we'd appeal that the way people call for, more support, more logistical infrastructure or more logistical investments for our sister agencies, they should try and do same for the fire service so that at the end of the day we can serve them better.
All right. Let's talk now about May the 4th, Firefighters Day. What can we expect from you? You're marking what, 60 years this year?
Yes.
What can we expect from the Ghana National Fire Service on a day like that? And after that, I feel it would be remiss on my part if I let you guys go without leaving us with some fire safety tips. So we'll do that at the tail end after you tell us about the plan for the 4th of May.
So on the 4th of May, actually activities started yesterday.
Okay.
We had fire safety education campaigns throughout the country. Today we are continuing with the fire safety and campaign activities. It takes different forms in different regions. You look at your environment and come up with a program to suit that one. So apart from visiting our communities for fire safety education, we also have open day where we open our doors to the general public to come in and look at what equipment and appliances we use to come and support you, so that if you have questions to ask, you ask, and then we explain to you. Then also on the D-Day, that is climaxing the Fighters Day on Thursday, 4th May, we have what we call memorial service for those who lost their lives in the line of duty. And then also award those whose sacrifices have made all of us safe here. So we have specific individuals, firefighters, that we are going to award on that day. So we are going to recognize firemen, as well as to recognize those whose sacrifices have made them take the lead to the Almighty God. And so on that day, this is what we are going to do. And then on Friday, we continue with some of the activities to touch base with those that we could not get to during yesterday to Thursday.
Okay. Interestingly, on the back of memorializing or remembering some of your officers who have lost their lives in the line of duty, I have one, Nana, okay, I don't want to mention the name, just so, but he says, it was sad for my doctor to tell me to stop smoking, like one of you mentioned. In fact, my mom nearly wrote my resignation letter for me. That's what he is sharing. And I mean, if you have a child who is going through all of this, knowing very well that these could have health implications, you would be concerned. And let me also mention this one from Oladipupo Oluwaseun Bukola. You say, good morning, well done from Baremu, Ibadan. That's interesting, watching all the way from Nigeria. So here's what we're going to do. We're activating the phone lines, 0302. The phone line will be at the bottom of your screen. This happens from time to time. When the phone line comes, I'll hazard another guess. So just give us a call and let us know what your thoughts are. If you have any thank yous for the Ghana National Fire Service as well, we'd be glad to have you share those thank yous with them, and then we'll cap off the conversation. So you can call 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691.
Okay. So
Any other words on the 4th of May before we take the tips?
Okay, so the memorial, as my boss said, we've lost some very good men in the line of fire. Most recently, one of our gallant firefighters from the central region, there were about 2 or 3 people trapped in a well. He was able to get them out, but he died. He gave his life. And mind you, he has children. He has children.
What happens in such instances? I know insurance and all of that, but what does the state do? What happens?
Well, as you said, some compensation, but no compensation is greater enough to compensate for the loss like that. Recently, 2 or 3 of our officers attended an incident at Takrady.
So I'll just have to hold you briefly because you spoke about Dome Kwabenya. Yes. We have Inusa calling from Kwabenya. I want to hear what he has to say. Oh, it's Somanya rather. Okay, so Inusa, good morning.
Yeah, Idrisu rather.
Idrisu?
Yeah, Idrisu.
Sorry for the mix-up. What are your thoughts, Idrisu?
Yeah, all I want to say is thank you for all their services in Ghana, and I really appreciate them. Thank you very much, Ghana National Fire Service.
Thank you so much, Idrisu. If we do this more, it will also ginger them. I'm sure the salary, you see them laughing. But if we do this, then they know that it's well worth it. 0302-211-691 is the number to call. Yes.
Okay, so about 3 of our men attended an incident in Takrady. The building collapsed on them. We had to fly one straight from Takrady to 37 Hospital for urgent medical care. We had one of our recruits firemen, before you go for training, you're on attachment. At Obuasi, the car had an accident. He died even before he could wear the uniform. So you can imagine that, those who are even yet to join the service go through a lot of sacrifice and life-threatening conditions. How much more those who are actively serving and even serve all through to retirement?
We have a caller from Donkwao. What's the name, please?
I'm Vincent.
Vincent, what are your comments for our fire officers?
Okay, I want to show my appreciation to men who are fighting for our well-being. I want to say that God richly bless them for all that they are doing for our mother Ghana and for especially our brothers and sisters who go through hard times when there is fire outbreak. God bless them. I know they say teachers' rewards are in heaven. Dears are also there. So they should do it.
Vincent, that's an interesting one. He says your reward is in heaven, but I'm sure you would like part of it here.
Sure. We are facing the hellfire here, so we need.
It's serious. Oh, you are facing hellfire here, so you can't do hell here.
Because we are facing the fire.
I get that point. You can still call. Maybe we can take one or two more calls and then wrap it up. 0302-211-691. Maybe we can take fire safety tips now. Any that you have to share with us?
Yes.
Whether it's at home, whether you are using a gas cylinder, whatever it is.
So I will start with the gas cylinder. Then I'll touch briefly on electricity. Most of the incidents that normally takes lives and cause a lot of huge injuries are as a result of misuse of gas in the homes.
Okay. I would beg of you to just hold for me. Let me take this last caller and then I will not interrupt you. Is it Ama?
Yes, Ama from Wa.
From Wa? All right. Please go ahead. You're our final caller. Then I'll go to the fire officers.
Yeah, I think I would like to say a very big thank you to the fire officers in your studio. You see, in Ghana, it's like we limited security service to only police and military, and which is very bad. When you go to prison service, their case is worse. But you see firefighters doing all that they can to make sure that life and property are being saved. But we don't regard them. We don't even resource them. No, prison and police, fire service, we don't take good care of them. And I think the government needs to resource these two institutions, fire and prison, because they are doing a lot for the country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm immensely grateful to all of you who have called this morning for thanking them. I did it on behalf of all of us, but it's good that all of you who have called to appreciate what they do. We salute you. Yes, please go ahead.
So in the home, mostly these are as a result of leakages from the gas cylinder. So once you are home, if you finish cooking, make sure you remove the cylinder head from the cylinder. The next time that you want to cook, you just connect the head to the cylinder, the regulator to the cylinder head, then you can start cooking. Then again, if it is appropriate or possible, ensure that your cylinder is placed outside the kitchen in the open, so that if there is any leakage, the air in the environment can blow the gas leakage away, so that it wouldn't cause any problems. Then, to ensure that you minimize the leakages, once a while, you test your tube. How do you test it? There is a simple way that we do. Just use soapy solution. Run it around the tube. If you see any bubbles, then it means your tube is leaking. You must change the tube so that it doesn't bring any problem. Then the last one I'll speak about on the gas is that when you are turning on the gas, make sure that your stove valves are all off. You turn it on from the cylinder, then you strike your matches before you open the stove valve. Okay. If you open before you go and turn it on, before you come, there is a leakage. If you don't take time, if you strike the match, you also be part of the fire. Then on electricity, anytime you are stepping out of the home, there are certain equipments that are not supposed to be on for a very long time. It is only when you are in and you want to use, then you turn them on. So equipments like your radio, your television, air conditioning, home theaters, all these fans, all these equipments are not meant to be on forever. Apart from fridges and freezers, these are meant to be on forever because they have what we call thermostat. So they work up to a certain point, they stop. When the temperature increases, they come back and start working. So apart from fridges and freezers, all other equipment must be turned on and unplugged before you leave.
Turned off
and unplugged before you leave the home.
So interesting thoughts that you've shared with us. I'll just go back to is it the dosimeter? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Without the dosimeter, now I am with doso. Any final words, and then we can wrap this conversation.
Well, to reinforce my boss's call for fire stations and support, let me draw a very scary picture for you. Well, if there's any fire at, let's say, Kwabinya or Dome, the nearest appliance will come from Medina or Abilimpi. If there's
as far as Abilimpi.
Exactly. If there's any fire at Santa Maria, imagine the distance from Abilimpi to Santa Maria. That's the appliance that will respond to the fire. There's no single fire station within La Paz.
That's the one around the Perez Dome, far behind the Perez Dome. That's where it will be coming from.
Yes. So imagine there's a fire at Alajo, or there's a fire at Newtown, or there's a fire at Pig Farm. That calls for that appliance to attend to. It means that we'll have to come Wager, all the way from Wager SCC, to attend to fires at Santa Maria, Sotum, Kwashiman, or Odoko. So please, this should reinforce the calls to have more fire stations. We can't just come as a station that we are taking over your land. Put pressure on your elected representatives. Put pressure on your
members of parliament.
Yes, that if they can making all those promises, tell them that the promises that we need is that give us a fire station to further protect us. And once you do that, you hold on to accounts, and as a service, we would also do our part to hold on to the bargain to protect your lives and properties.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's you're signaling me. We have really gone out of time.
So just
20 seconds.
Yes. What I want Ghanaians to know is that the fire stations in your community is for you. Own the fire station. Visit the personnel there. Encourage them often. Know their problems so that if you can help them solve. Because they are in your community to help you save your life and protect your properties. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. ACFO 1 Timothy Osafo Efum, Director Public Relations at the Ghana National Fire Service. Also joining him, a member of the Public Relations Department of the Ghana National Fire Service, ADO2 Alex King Nate. Gentlemen, we salute you. Thank you so much. Aiko, and God bless you. And we pray you get the logistics you need. Now, coming up, we're talking about the Ghana Water Company Limited and the spillage of the Wager Dam. That happens from time to time. The last time it happened, I was there. It was pathetic in some of those communities. Well, Bernice Akakpo Bernice Lansah is on the ground in Wager Tetegu, and she's going to be telling us what exactly is happening there, especially as there are plans for a spillage in the coming days and weeks. Bernice, if you can hear me, let's hear what exactly the residents there have been sharing with you.
Right, Benjamin, this morning I'm here at Tetegu to assess the readiness of residents in terms of evacuation, because the Ghana Water Company Limited has, in a statement, cautioned residents to evacuate because it will begin spillage. We understand that it has started in minimal quantities, and this is because the Ghana Water Company Limited wants to protect the integrity of the dam, which cannot go beyond a certain level. In that statement also, the Ghana Water Company Limited asked that the estuary be cleared. Remember, last year, one of the contributing factors to the terrible situation we saw in Tetegu was that the estuary was blocked, and so the water could not flow freely into the sea. So that is what the Ghana Water Company Limited has asked residents and the authorities today. This morning, I'm just at the taxi rank, right close to the Tetegu Stool House, and interestingly, here's what I discovered in my pre-interview sessions. I realized that there was an information center here, and it's being manned by Daniel. Daniel is responsible for alerting residents, for giving them information. And what has happened with the Ghana Water Company Limited's release is that an announcement has been made to residents to evacuate. Good morning, Daniel.
Good morning, madam.
Yeah, that's a one yakasa. Mrebe na mo bo nkrofo mo ti krom ha kokko say yesan be spill dam no nti Ghana Water Company Limited say momboabo mo ho se mo be free ha eno na be boamo.
I'm say more my information best a month ago, and last week Saturday so almost my information be say be yes spilling. Inti ye omo ben so no omo free omo bie weja no se na benya kon yakọ epumu.
Na since the announcement no koye no when who say nkrofo bi boabo mo ho de na say as me buy no kra me bi se nkrofo as obi a relaxed bi sa no.
I mean, edomo ewo ha no minye sure say see free ha nyina ye be ekọ baby ani wo sa ye be ekọ. Ada say aban no obehu de obeye se na be boye ewo ha. Nso no emi say mu asi say omo de machine abayi mu nyina maye say bie weja enha ye wo ha because edom bebre ne wo ha.
So Daniel is telling me that a month ago the Ghana Water Company Limited came here to alert the residents of an impending spillage, and last week it happened again. So if you look up, you see that there's a public address system that is used to make the announcement to residents here, and he's the one who is responsible for that. According to him, the reason why residents may not be very eager about moving is, one, the numbers. There are a lot of them, and he says that they don't have anywhere to go to. He believes rather that if government dredges the waterways, there won't be flooding in the area. But Mamin Bisawo, I'm just going to find out from him, between last year and today, what has been done between residents, the assembly, to ensure that what happened last year will not happen again, or even if there's a spillage, the impact will not be as bad as we saw it. Inti, between last year and this year, no, ejuma bi akoso, wonim say bibi akoso a ebi aban anasa mo ankasa as residents no, mo aboa mo ho say na esi last year na ensi biem.
Okay, ya kasa na ya ye we kakra bi akọfa machine obi amotu ya kakra na ya fa machine adi ayi mu akodu bebi na omodi asi ho nti aka ba be boy ye be continue ayen round abesi ya enso problem there ye nya wa ha
na wo kasa mo yim na den gata na say ensuo no kwan no
ensuo no mu omo yi ensuo no mu se na mu bedo ye bie weja e be fam fine akọ.
So the only thing he says he's aware of is that residents have made contributions to clear the waterway, desilt it a bit so that when the rain, when the dam is spilled, I beg your pardon, the water can have a collection area, and so it will not come into the community. I'll come back to Daniel to find out exactly what transpired last year, especially with the help of the public address system and what it was able to do. But I've got another resident here, Patrick Frosing.
May the Godson eche okulu.
Godson, what ha? Daniel say ya bomo kokose muntu. What ya na?
Normally no. Woman no more catch say yentu. Enso yentu mintu. Asiani say me ye wo me papa wa ha. And ono so wo me. And I me so me sate wo. And I be bansu sate wo. Enti na che say your generation nyina afri kromo ha. Na ye ti kromo ha na nye ne. Ansa na omo ye Weja Dam no. Anya cry consult Weja Dam 1900 or to 1901. And a consult here. By then on a nye dam. Na ye a year mo ye. Insho no kasa ba na faso na ko. By info somewhere 1960 or to 1965 that way. Or 1967 somewhere like that. And you say Friday na ba. But since then no e bi mbada. Ye o man e bi aba. E bi o ha na ye no man e sa akọ sa ba. But you say there Yadosu, yabroso, Yadosu see cry, ewa ye nima ye oblogo, Yadosu see omo, Yadosu see wager, and Kazankaza no mubone dono, that the Ukronus see wager. If you are man from Kratos, the Ukronus will see a man from, and see then, and I bet me free alcohol.
Mamma Motia semni mo, because baby, I will bono, baby to say a man from say, more highline, Kakamuni low line area, into Mona semno. Hamo internet you say be boa and kamun relocate e
wo fahin asase be no betumi dia maya ebia betumi aboa ye nyina betumi akoso yentumi nkoso Weja Dam na ho no na nka o say omo ye bibi fa ho because Friday na by last year no na yeti yini dada say bokena dam no ebu na nka ha no say nso ne wa no mo relation a long time. But omo atwensa say your politics no mudi yo say den no mudi yo afa abrusu wi ansana omo pompi gu yeso a omo pese omo kire say ebia ye free ha de mama All
right, so this gentleman says that he was born here, his father was born here, he has children, and his children are beginning to have children. And so this is literally his hometown. The community has expanded. There are so many people here. He claims that this place is a larger community than Oblogo, than Amanfrom, than Weta itself. And so he doesn't understand why government will ask that they evacuate. He's also saying that last year's incident was as a result of the spillage coming a little bit too late, and last year no see omo twenya manso ne makakran no omo bie kwan na manafa, but this year no omo so omo ye kakran, but still nsuo na ebeba na nsuo na ebetono Ghana Water Company Limited onti me interest e bia and nsuo na ebetono at this level of water beba nti there's a chance e bia one day nsuo bi beto pama omo bia nsuo no bedon so no so de ne ani omo fawo
and the outcome de trodo ye hu but say ye fun say any padas any say what you fear now where you got abia wo dware wo na wo got na wo yima emo say nso no entumi femu nko babia na mo bia nso no fa a be fa tetego ko no e wo so mo tumi expand drainage no ekwan a e wo hom or so mo tumi yen say so mo ye concrete wo ma na mo abie mu a enso no ba be fem straight na eko ba we omunya hwe inform ho ye to aba all the time I feel we there yes in percent tetegu enya there be to aba because ye hu their government no dey ye boy yen ye do super ye bro thousands and over me to me can say 5,000 10,000 ye bro pa na o kind that do was site hanu ma enya easy enti also mo yi enso no mo bie mu kama say world crown beto abe Barcelona inso no fema straight to the sea.
All right, so he's also agreeing that there must be some work done around the waterways. He's actually thinking that having a certain form of concrete along that waterway could help channel the water better into the sea. He's also saying that they've made a decision not to vote because they can't see any impact their voting over the years has had on the community, and so they're demanding more. I'll just speak to a few more residents and I'll come back here to wrap up the conversation because some of them will be recounting to us what their challenges were last year, especially when the floods reached a level where the military had to intervene. If you may recall, there were some canoes that were brought in to help evacuate persons who were aged, persons who could not move around, children, because I've been told that the water reached just a little a bust level. So let me speak to the gentleman who was here. I spoke to him earlier. All right, but are you able to speak to me? Last year when the floods happened, were you here? Yes. And how did it affect you?
Oh, it was very miserable. All of us, we live here. We went to the other town before we were able to survive.
Okay. Have you heard the latest announcement from the Ghana Water Company Limited?
Yeah.
And so what are you doing about it? Why are you still here?
That one will not be dangerous like the first one.
Who said? The Ghana Water Company Limited?
Yes, they said it. The wager Bawe, this thing, they said it. Okay. They said it will not be dangerous like the first one. Because the first one, they kept the water so much. That's why it was even going to damage the dam before they open it. So this one, if one come, no, they will leave it. If two, no, they will leave it. So that it will not worry us again.
Okay, so that's what you were told by officials of the Ghana Water Company Limited. Yes. Okay, so they didn't make an announcement for you to leave the place. Did he ask you to leave?
No. They say it will not worry us. That's why they say we should not leave. Okay.
All right. But what are your concerns as a resident here? How long have you been living in Tetegu?
I was born in Tetegu. Okay. So I'm anything that happen I mean, you're aware. Yeah.
But if you say that you've been told not to move, are you still not concerned? It's raining. They may spill. If a flood happens, how will you, go about? Do you have children?
Yes, I have 2 children.
How will you go about evacuating them?
I'll just leave here and go to the other town.
Which other town?
Like Oblogo, Top, or those Kaswa area.
Last year, that's where you went.
Yes, I went to Oblogo.
Do you have family there?
Yes, I have family there. All of our family, my mother, my siblings, all of us, we went to the Oblogo Top. But the Oblogo down, there is flood over there, so we went to the Oblogo Top base. That's where we went to.
Okay, so but it's very interesting, Benjamin. This lady is giving another dimension to this whole conversation, because all along, all I've heard is the alert and the warning from the Ghana Water Company Limited. But she's saying that they were told that it won't be as bad as last year's, and so, it will just be spilled as and when, occasionally, and so she's not worried. She doesn't appear worried. But even if the worst happens, she has a plan. Let me try and speak to another person here to recount to me exactly what happened. Okay, let me just check. Hello. Okay, all right. So we're just trying to find out from residents exactly how they managed the incident last year. Let me speak to this gentleman. Hello, good morning. Okay, he says he won't speak. It's a calm morning here, I must say. A lot of residents going about the usual business. Really cool, calm community. The taxi rank owners going about their daily business. So let me go back to Daniel and try and wrap up on his bit. Daniel. Where the kafrao, sorry. Intino Siciano. Many lady be a casawo or say, ye catro say spillage way, and yet to say last year, Diano. Intino, Mamma worry. Is that what happened? Sana Ghana Water Company Limited kind.
Nadumo.
Nadumo for
Nekasa.
Okay. And don't be relaxed no.
Nadumo for almost the first send no bienu no bibi na esi na eba nsa by we no omo papa na kasa on bienu se na emba be ha yo ha emi se mini abe ma kasa no o se omo de nso na to osa aba bebre ansa na omo abie sesia mini mu ekasa wo ha no we no stream no bakwasi e se omo ko bie ansa na omo abie we no omo ambie nti we no enso no ba bebre omo bia ansa na all right,
so Daniel is saying that caution from the Ghana Water Company Limited about the evacuation is one part. On the other hand, NANWO has been telling them not to worry, and that the scenario that occurred last year will not repeat itself. But he's also saying that since the spillage started, one of the streams is blocked, and that's why the Ghana Water Company Limited in that release asked that the estuaries be freed so that the water can flow into the sea. Ghana Water Company Limited, as I catch assembly for so would the public address system now you when you mind me sure says Sanyama we be a ubenim who be on unim say assembly for no astati a be quite no say in suono by a bit to me right punimana.
Oh, there be mintisa. You may name sir.
Now, more as residents don't so then I'm more careful home because some mona mutim into no so money and not saying soon year.
On no thing yakasa ya Jessica kakra na idea starti. They say no sikanasa nti akosi baby yen to me to us obion. Emi say mo machine bebre omo ogia free galamsey for her. Omo fambra na omo be yemu mai omo yemu pe nsuo no ha ya biom. Se na epe no omo yenu sama ye pepepe. Nsuo mba be ha ye wa ha biom because ye do so ha ye be kon ifa.
Daniel is suggesting actually that during
they should be aware of it.
What so Daniel is asking that the excavators that have been seized from Galamsey side should be brought to dredge the place. He says that the monies they collected to do those that particular work is finished, and so they're actually relying on government. They have made an initiative as residents, but they're relying on government to finish it up for them. He's not aware if any works have begun from the side of the assembly, the local government, to ensure that the estuary is full. We'll just try and get a few more thoughts here. Okay, so this gentleman is really fired up. He's actually saying that if any politician comes here during election time, they won't listen because they haven't been catered for.
And the person may be say, Sahana and Yakranka, I don't know electricity. Ewa hanum. And water company for no so my pipe I am wahanum. Almost I my permit. Sahan Yakra, I don't know some way bibisa. A higher crew, and to the Eddie says chrono, Omubomo de say, Omobene and Huatoya, and I yen no, Yamina Tony Insio, and see Anya Crapono more machines I edit Chucky and Sue. And see someone who left on say, let one away about too much. No more releasing a one time now. Omunja sa Omukasa Casana Mukaze, Yen free Hanamboy, Yen Nibebiako.
All right, so he says they don't have anywhere to go. They should stop that that caution about evacuation. He's actually questioning. If you may recall, Benjamin, last year there were some conversations about whether this is a place people should even settle in, and we were told as far back as, you know, over 100 years ago, if my memory serves me right, there were people living here, and so that conversation should not even come up at all. He's also questioning why they've been given electricity connected to the grid. Why are they connected to the Ghana Water Company Limited? They have an MP. So if they are not supposed to be here, why have they received all those benefits? So those are just a few of the thoughts that have been shared with me this morning at Tetegu. We are here to assess the readiness of residents to evacuate because of that statement released by the Ghana Water Company Limited, urging residents to evacuate because it will begin, or it has begun, spillage of the Wager Dam. It says this is to save the integrity of the dam. Also, the most important one about the evacuation, we'll need to find out from the assembly, local assembly, if anything like that has been done. But we're just sampling thoughts of people who were greatly affected by the floods last year. Benjamin, it appears that people are calm, collected. They don't really have any issues. You can see children playing, people going about their normal business. I now understand, because of the information from the young lady about the NADMO, what NADMO told them about the level of this year's spillage and how it will not be as bad as last year's. And so you can understand, if you don't see people packing up their things and leaving, then that is the reason they are moving. They aren't moving, rather.
Lansah, all the way from Tetegu there, on the back of that planned spillage of the Wager Dam by the Ghana Water Company Limited. In fact, some issues we heard last year being revisited. But what is this spillage really going to mean? Only time will tell. We take a breather, and when we return on the AM show, we'll be getting interactive with you. Do stay. We'll be right back.
Read meters, you come and work here.
Yes.
So when the flood happened, how did it affect you? Were your meters destroyed last year?
It wasn't really destroyed because everything was okay, so it wasn't really destroyed like that.
So this gentleman here, he doesn't live here. He works for the Ghana Water Company Limited. Very interesting. And he's here to fix a meter for somebody. As you can see, that's okay, that's a main pipeline there of the Ghana Water Company Limited. Enforcing or reinforcing what that gentleman said about they being connected to water and electricity, and so they deserve the benefits other communities in the country are enjoying. And this lady, I'm sure, would like to speak to me. Let me just find out from you. Good morning, ma. Sorry. Okay, she says I should give her a minute and she'll be back here. I would like to hear her side of the story. I see she sells stuff. I can see beverages, I can see cereals. She sells a lot of things. It's your normal Ghanaian provision store. And hello, ma'am, how are you?
I'm fine.
What's your name?
My name is Nkechi Amachu.
Nkechi, do you live here or you just work here?
I live here.
How did the flood last year affect you?
It affected us very seriously. It damaged all our properties in the house. It entered our shop, damaged all our goods.
I'm so sorry about that. But the Ghana Water Company Limited says that it's about to spill again. Have you heard about that? Or what did you hear about it?
You just told them that they are going to open down. So we thought maybe it's normal dam, that maybe the flood will be here, but not too much to enter people's house or shops to destroy our things.
So you're not worried?
I'm worried though. Every year we got worried here because it's affecting us seriously here. It's affecting us, especially both our children. For them to go to school is problem. For them to come out is problem. We that are selling shops here, it enter our shop, damage all our things.
So how were you able to come back into business after the flood last year?
We went and borrowed loan. So we continue with it. When we are selling, we'll be paying them back. That's how we did.
All right. I'm told residents were levied. You had to pay something for them to cleared the way for the water. Are you aware of that?
I'm not aware of it.
So what are you also doing as a resident here? I see that your kids are around to ensure that your voice is heard. You know, how do you channel your concerns, or who do you channel them to?
So there is nobody that we can channel it. We will just enjoy it anyhow we see it. There is nothing we can do. We are crying onto government for them to come and help us to know how to channel the water, because it's affecting us seriously here.
Last year, what was the water level?
It got into here. Yeah.
So how did you stay here, or you moved away?
We ran out. We ran out from here. It's only my husband who stays here. They are sleeping on top of this fridge over here. Yeah.
So where did you go to?
We ran to Bawe at my sister's place. Okay. So that is where my kids are. So my husband and my first son, they are here sleeping on top of the fridge. So that is how we did it last year.
The rains have started. They started spilling. What are you doing personally to ensure that you are not affected by the floods again?
There is nothing we can do. We are looking up to them that if they will bring help to us, so that they will know what to do about it. If not, we are scared. We are scared. Even all the rain that falls here, the road is very bad. There is no gutter. If they can be able to, government will be able to come and do gutter for us. It will be better. It will be better for us. At least it will reduce.
Thank you for speaking to us in Kechi. So, government, this is the call, this is the plea that you come and do something about the situation here. So let me just, I hope I can do a quick walk to the bridge and for you to see what it looks like. The guys from the Ghana Water Company Limited are still working, digging, I'm sure fixing a line to somebody's house. Okay, so that's your foreman. All right, okay, hi. Can I speak to you? All right. Okay. So you work. Do you live in Tetegu?
No.
You work here?
Yes.
You work with the Ghana Water Company Limited?
Yes, please.
So what are you doing right now?
We are come to tap the service line for somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the person made a request to the Ghana Water Company Limited?
Yes, please.
Okay. All right. So there you, just to confirm what we were told by the other gentleman. I hope I can do a quick walk up there for you to see what the bridge looks like. So that you can see the level of water now. This is quite a low-lying area, and so you can understand when you're coming from the main junction, that place looks a little higher, but as you cross the bridge coming to Old Tetegu, you see what's happening here. So this is the bridge, and well, that's the level of the water now. We understand that spillage has started, but it's quite minimal, so it's not too high. What residents are asking for is that this be dug out so that when the water comes, there's more space for it to fill. You can see the work that has happened. I mean, see the silt or the banks of the stream. I don't know if it's an actual stream or it's a waterway that has been created because of man-made activities. But Benjamin, that's what we've been able to assess here. Sorry, I'm panting because I had to do a quick walk up this place. So from Tetegu, I'm Bernice Lansah, and this has been the AM show's assessment of the readiness or response of residents to the caution from the Ghana Water Company Limited for them to evacuate because of the spillage of the Wager Dam.
Bernice, thank you so much for the good work from Tetegu. And I remember that bridge. I was there sometime last year, and that is the situation there. They are, some of them, dreading what the implications could be if the spillage happens. But of course, we've been told by the Ghana Water Company Limited that this is not going to disrupt the lives of people there by and large. We'll take a breather and move on straight to your calls on the AM show. Welcome back on the AM show. Let's wrap the show together, shall we? And we're wrapping with you. In fact, interestingly, today we've spoken about the Ghana card where you have multiple SIMs registered that don't even belong to you. And we had some of you share your thoughts on that. Then we engaged the Ghana National Fire Service. We got interactive on that as well. We've engaged the residents of Tetegu about the expected spillage, and we've heard from them. But how about you? We're offering you a window of a few minutes to get interactive with us on the AM show. The number to call is on your screen, 0302-211-691, 0302-211-691. What do you think? For me, the conversation that has stood out for me is the Ghana National Fire Service. It's not to say the other ones are not important, very relevant, but it opened my eyes to a lot more about what these fire officers who were in the studio with me have to go through every time. They lack the logistics in terms of numbers. They are 15,000 short. And so many, I mean, the 290 or is it 240 stations that they have all need retooling in terms of fire engines, in terms of equipment. And I can't get over the fact that they're dosimeters, basically, which they can use to determine what type of fire is there and know whether to go near it or not. They don't even have those. So let's be more charitable with our fire service. We have our first caller. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Ben. How are you?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm doing very well, thank you, and thank you for the fantastic work you're doing.
Thank you, sir. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yeah, I'm calling from East Legon, Transaco.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm just going straight to the point of Bernice from Tetegu. Is that correct?
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. You know, Ben, I'm a bit confused here. You know, as I'm listening to Bernice, it seems to me that communication within that area, people are confused. Namo is saying something else. Ghana Water is saying another. And it's like, you know, people are not aware of what's going on. The gentleman who persists in saying that, you know what, he believes that either is politics or something. The people themselves, the residents are confused. I just sat here and listened to Benny. And if you look at, you know, the waterways has been dredged, right? It seems to me that the management of the whole area is intact. Who is in charge? People, I don't think Ghana will take things serious, Ben. You're doing your bit. Ben is doing what she can do. But those who have been elected in charge of our issues, who are they? What are they doing, Ben? You know, I'm just so confused. The communication is so poor that, you know what, you don't know what the people are, you know, they're about. The Ghana Water saying something completely different. The NANMO, who has been supposed to be either in charge of the government spokes or whatever, they too are communicating something completely different. So the question here is this: who is in charge? Who is doing what? People like in question here. And you know, I think maybe one day I'll be able to, you know, direct better. But let me leave it for other person to take over. Ben, have a nice day.
Have a nice day, sir. Thank you so much for calling into the program. Very valid points he makes there. Sometimes the information dissemination, and this is where sometimes, of course, apart from the NADMOs and the Ghana Water Company Limited, these are security matters. The DISEX, the MUSEX, the METSEX, and others must also come to the fore. Communication streams must be, you know, level, must be top-notch, but oftentimes we leave it, and sometimes that, in fact, is the problem, a lack of communication, and then people don't know when what is happening, how it is happening, where, and the problem arises. I think we have room for one more call if we can get someone who wants to share. Today, we've taken a lot of calls on all the conversations. We have a caller on the line. Hello, is it Moses?
Yes, please.
Where are you calling from, Moses?
Tamale.
Moses from Tamale, you are our final caller. What are your thoughts? Hello, Mo.
Yes.
Please go ahead with your thoughts for us.
Thank you. Benjamin.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Benjamin.
I think you are listening to me on your set.
Yes.
Don't do that. Just go ahead with what you have to say.
I think we do not have. I think I share the opinion of my brothers and sisters in Weja, and the challenge is that we have actually not been committed
wanting to solve the problem.
Okay.
This is a perennial problem that faces a section of Ghanaians who are also part of taxpayers. And of course, we pay tax so that leaders can use it to develop us. What are they doing? Why would they always want to have the problem occur? Then they are rushing in to want to solve it. Are they benefiting from the problem? We should be asking these questions. And I think that the young ones coming up, we have to be up and doing. You see, you cannot always be doing the same thing and expecting different results. If you see the footage, what is the guarantee that when they open the water, there will not be a spillage, there will not be destruction of property and life?
Right.
So leaders should demonstrate that they are indeed leaders. They are not opportunists. They are not taking advantage of the people and to enriching themselves to the detriment of the people. We have had cases that when it occurs like this, then the NADMO rush in with the mind that they are going to help them. But indeed, they are rather not giving them what is supposed to be given them, but keeping it, because I believe that if you have a destruction of somebody's property, you cannot go and give soap, you cannot go and give bucket, you cannot give a mat and claim that you have helped the person.
Right.
When you have a responsibility to protect and prevent the problem from occurring,
right,
you wait, and then the person gets into a problem, then you go in with a mat. We should be serious.
Right.
And it comes with our election, our choice of leaders.
Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us. We're very grateful for all of you who've taken the time to join us in the course of these 4 hours. We're grateful that you made us a part of your morning. Do stay with us. Joy News Desk is up next. But before we go, I'm going to be sipping on some Awake purified drinking water. And of course, it is premium purified water treated through a strict purification process to ensure that every bottle on the market refreshes you better. Now, they have the perfect sizes for all purposes, 330 and 500 ml bottles. You could easily fit that into your child's bag or backpack. If you want to drink more, 750 milliliters. If you're a heavy drinker like I am, 1.5 liters, and you're good to go through the day. So all you have to do now is stay awake with Awake purified drinking water. Now, choose a bottle of Awake, and it is definitely one for life. Here is why. For every bottle you purchase, an amount is donated to the National Cardiothoracic Center. That indeed is very heartwarming, helping those who cannot afford treatment to get it. If you'd like to purchase in bulk, of course, this being a quality product of Casapreco Company Limited, just call 0262 351 251. 0262 351 251. This advert is FDA approved. And of course, it's been approved now for me to nod off and hand over to the Joy News Desk crew. From us to you, we salute you. Have a wonderful Tuesday.